he's only one.
The eyes of the lady depicted on this piece of fabric are literally alive. Well, yes, when the scientists looked at the eyes through an ophthalmoscope, they were shocked to realize that the iris reacted to light just like your eyes would. Okay, I'll come back to the scientists' exact conclusions a little later, but you'll see that you're really not at the end of your surprises. You may think this is nonsense, but today it is not for nothing that this piece of fabric is one of the greatest mysteries of all time for science, and hundreds of scientists around the world continue to study it. Because yes, in fact, the strange eyes of this lady are just one element among the 10 others that still have no explanation to this day regarding this image. So welcome to this series where we look at the 100 greatest unexplainable mysteries in history according to science. And today for our 10th mystery, I have something very, very heavy planned for us. Get comfortable, and let me tell you why this image has intrigued the whole world for a century. We are in 1929 in Mexico. Mr. Alfonso Marque Gonzalez, a professional photographer, was invited to the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe to take photos of a cloth that the basilica treasures. This fabric, 1 meter 70 tall and 1 meter five wide depicts the Virgin Mary. Well, so far, nothing special. It looks like an old painting that dates back several centuries. Alfonso takes the photos and goes home. But when he enlarges some negatives of the face in the image, he discovers the reflection of a bearded man in the eyes. Alfonso is the first to see this, but he doesn't know it yet. This is just the beginning of a long series of surprising discoveries. At the time, almost no one pays attention to the photographer's statement, and it takes a few more decades for things to pick up speed. On May 29, 1951, a Tunis G. Carlos Salinas Chavez in turn discovers, using a high magnification lens on a photo of the cloth, that there seems to be a bearded man in the right eye of the image. He soon finds him in the left eye as well, but positioned just slightly differently, almost a bit off. Strange. In any case, this time the information is making waves. The Catholic authorities, who hold the cloth, are informed, and they then request several experts to analyze the fabric. Here are the names of about 10 scientists, mainly ophthalmologists, who studied the eyes of the lady in the following years, along with the dates they conducted their studies. We have kept all their written reports, and it is based on these reports that this investigation is conducted. Here is a French excerpt from one of these reports, for example, that of September 20th, 1958 by Dr. Toria Lavoignet. First of all the ophthalmologists confirmed the presence of the bearded man. But that's
And I
nothing
just realized my
compared to
mic
the
has been
three
off
things
this
he
whole
discovers
time.
next. The first
That's a classic Wednesday morning for you. Welcome, guys. Welcome. We're learning about Our Lady of Guadalupe, as you probably learned, as you couldn't hear me talking. I just think if this is one of the strongest evidences, scientific evidences for the existence of God. Material evidences, something you can actually go see that still exists. There's no, to me, there's no question about how it was made. You're gonna learn after this video that this is truly a miracle and proof of magic. So let's see.
first discovery is that the eyes conform to the laws of optics. Well, let me explain. The reflection in the left eye is not the same as that in the right eye. Well, yes, if a real bearded man were reflected in real human eyes, there would logically be a difference in position. The reflections located in the corner near the nose of one eye would necessarily be found in the corner near the ear of the other eye. Are you following along? Well, here, that's exactly what's happening. Even more intriguing, the distortion of the reflection corresponds to the normal curvature of the cornea. And that's not all. Some ophthalmologists, like Dr. Jorge Escalante Padilla, even noted the presence of the normal microscopic venous network, which is perfectly visible on the eyelids and the cornea of the Lady of Guadalupe's eyes. You understand, the realism of the image is shocking. So far, this is already very surprising because the eyes are actually extremely small on the cloth. They measure barely 7 to 8 millimeters in diameter, so less than 1 centimeter per eye. How could someone have managed to paint reflections that are less than half a millimeter on such coarse fabric? And above all, how could he have thought to slightly shift the reflection to make it conform to the laws of optics? Scientists have tried to reproduce this painting.
And of course, if the most staunch skeptic in my chat is gonna be like, well, that's just what he did. That's just what he did, and God doesn't exist. And so there's just a really skilled, I don't know, forger hanging out in the mountains of Mexico in the 1500s. We haven't gotten to the story yet. So, if you believe anything of the story, which I think is historical, given how much like writing there is about it at the time that it supposedly happened. If you believe anything about the story, basically you have to believe that, what's this guy's name? I think it's Juan Diego. I'm going to get it wrong. We're going to learn about it. You have to believe that basically a mountain dwelling, like Aztec, sort of, I don't know what the term would be, agrarian person. I don't know. That sounds wrong. Farmer, I guess, shepherd. I don't know what exactly he does. You have to believe that he not only knew about, in creating this forgery, of course, this fake icon to be venerated, that he knew about the laws of optics, that maybe you could say like, oh, maybe this guy's just really attentive. Like he knew that when something is reflected in your cornea, if it's in your right eye in this corner, it'll show up in the left eye in this corner, right? Maybe he knew that, but then to get the curvature and all the other little details we're going to see, and spoiler alert, there's 12 other people in the eye. There's 12 other people in the reflection. So you tell me how you would paint that. Apparently they can't even do it today, like with science, with like techniques, with modern techniques, modern technology. So we can't do it in a lab, but Juan Diego was able to do it in the woods, I'm sure. Yeah.
On identical fabric. But even with the finest brushes we have and today's techniques, they haven't succeeded. The surface is too small, too coarse, too rough. Now, on top of that, this hobby would date back a few centuries, but we'll get back to that. In short, okay, all of this is nice and all, but actually it's absolutely nothing compared to what's coming next. There's a law in optics called the Purkinje-Sanson law. It was discovered in the 1830s. It consists of this. When an object is at a certain distance from an eye, neither too close nor too far and well lit, it reflects not just once, but 3 times in each eye. The first time at the surface of the cornea.
Keep an eye on that 3, right? That's important. 3. Where do we hear 3 often?
The second time behind the lens, and the third time between the first 2 images. And this third reflection is inverted compared to the other 2. The top ends up at the bottom and vice versa, and it's smaller. Now, all the consulted ophthalmologists were able to spot the 3 images of the bearded man in each eye in accordance with the laws of optics discovered in 1830. Except that the craziest part is that the three reflections from the Purkinje Sansan law can only form in the open eyes of living people, actually showing the depth of a human eye with a cornea and a lens. And with a lens that is not just a simple drawing of a lens, but actually has an anterior surface and a posterior one, so it has both relief and depth. Basically, I don't know if I'm being clear, but we've never been able to observe these reflections on flat surfaces, whether it's paintings or simple photos. However, the image of Guadalupe is just a simple canvas, perfectly flat. This simple fact alone, when discovered, left all the ophthalmologists stunned, because they all know that these three reflections can only be found in living eyes. But I told you there were three major discoveries in the eyes. And in fact, the scientists were really not done with
So that last discovery, I personally don't quite understand. I'll take his word for it. I'll take an ophthalmologist's word for it that they can observe this in the painting. But I just don't see how they're deriving that from the
top ends up at the
painting,
bottom,
whatever, the divine painting. David Palermo. Oh, right. Oh, nice. Okay, we got a skeptic in the chat, David. We're watching a great video about this Our Lady of Guadalupe. Right now, you came at a good time. We're just at the first fact, or like the first, there's 12 inexplainable facts, and I think they truly are inexplainable. And I'll give you some credit on this one. I don't know how. I mean, I trust the ophthalmologist that did the research, but I'll give you a quick recap. And we haven't done the history yet, so we'll watch the history part. This video is awesome. I watched it yesterday. But it is this image here. And what we're talking about are the eyes. Actually, okay, yeah.
of about 10 signs did man in the right eye.
Well, let me just look it up here. Okay, so it's this it's this image. It's on a tunic, an Aztec tunic from the 1500s, and it is like the central icon of a church in Mexico. I think the church is just called Our Lady of Guadalupe. And the story behind it is quite incredible. We'll get into it. It has a miraculous sort of mythos, tale, I believe it, story that comes along with it. But the reason it's inexplainable there are actually many. There are many where this object could not exist in a world in which there is no miracles, and there are no miracles, and that there is no magic. And to me, it also confirms the Christian God, because why would this image exist of Mary rather than, I don't know, Ganesh or something like that, right? So, yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. I mean, the first thing we've seen is that there's the detail in the corneas is so incredible that you can see. So these ophthalmologists, that's what this list was. These 15 ophthalmologists studied the eyes alone of this painting and came to some incredible conclusions. There's these people that are in the cornea. Cool. What is the link? I will read it. Are you not seeing the video? If you are seeing the video, then that will explain most of it. But I can send the link. I mean, or you can just look it up. It's called 12 Inexplicable Facts About This Image. So we're just going to go through them and see. And I'm curious, as a skeptic, genuinely, how you would answer any of these. Answer any of these from an atheistic worldview. So let's get to where we were at. We got through all the eye stuff. Some of the eye stuff I don't understand per se, like how they. Okay, gotcha, Dave. Yeah, you're chilling. Some of the stuff I didn't even understand because it was like they had like a bunch of ophthalmologists go in and say analyze basically the reflections in the eyes of the painting, and the conclusion so far is that no human could have painted this. At least we don't have the techniques or the technology to do that right now, which makes it even more unbelievable that a poor farmer Aztec from the 1500s, I think his name is Juan Diego or Juan something. We'll see. We'll find out. That he could have forged this in like the woods somewhere. You know, it just sort of it's just starting not to make sense. But there is a lot to go. There are things that are even more fascinating and more irrational to me. Of course, from the atheistic worldview, this item is perfectly rational, makes perfect sense if you accept that God loves his own mother, right? Or that the Mother Mary is, you know, sort of raised up above angels and things like that to be able to do this type of thing. But let's see.
Reacts like a living human eye when observed.
Hello, ADMAF, Jackson Wayland. I understand what he's saying about the eye stuff, but looking at the image, are we convinced there's intentional details in the eye? Is there a scientific study about this or just the video? Oh, I got you, David. Oh, that's two different comments. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, the ophthalmologists clearly believe that it's intentional detail. Well, you're using the word intentional. I would actually say unintentional, as in a natural reflection of what an eye would see. That's what the ophthalmologists think. But he listed 12 studies in the video that I will find now, and we can link in the... Jack Devani thinks he can explain all these points, so I'd love to hear it, Jack. Let's move on from the eye thing, because even I think I could explain that from the atheistic worldview, but not totally. But if I just didn't believe the ophthalmologists and the scientists that studied it, then that's how I would explain it. I would just say, oh, well, they're mistaken. So if you have a better explanation than that, go ahead and fire that in the chat, or go ahead and feel free to join our Discord here, and we can talk about it. Let me create this link. So you go ahead and help me explain all this, Jack, if you're so confident. I'd be happy to hear it. So Our Lady of Guadalupe Ophthalmology Studies. I don't know if you're going to accept the Catholic Business Journal, but there's this. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to do all your research. Juan Diego, that's his name, of course. The science or lack thereof behind. So you guys might like this. You feel free to go to this. Yeah, these are the scientific facts. The tilma does not appear to be painted. The tilma is the cloth that it's painted on. Oh, yeah, Jack? Oh, we know it's a clear fabrication? All right, who's the painter? And forget who the painter is. How did he do it, right? So is he some sort of magical painter? He has, like, mystical, magical knowledge that was allowed him to add these sort of details. You let me know, bro. You point me to that study or that whatever news article you read. Welcome, Jack Devani. We got a lot of ex-Catholic atheists in the chat. You're not alone, and I welcome you. So just point me to that painter or how you know that it's forgery, and I'm happy to examine that, and we can talk about that. But in the meantime, let's see if we got... David says, I don't know anything about this, but I will say that inexplicable things don't mean there is a God. No, it just means that the best inference to the evidence is God. And when you have something that's inexplicable minus God, right? And I'm actually not even encouraging you, or I am encouraging you to believe in God. I'm not even saying this means you must believe in God. I'm saying if you have a strict materialist atheist worldview, this counters that, right? So if this is true at all, your worldview is wrong about materialism, if you are a materialist, whoever in here. So no, it means we don't know. Yeah, it means we don't know how the hell this thing was made. Okay, David? I'm not sure what you're not getting here, brother. If you can't be made by materialists, by humans, really. If a human can't make it, which we currently can't do, which it seems like we currently can't do, then what is the explanation? Like, not even like, what is it? Like, you have to know. Like, how is your explanation that materialism is true viable at all? Okay, so your explanation, David, is not that materialism is true. Your explanation is, I don't know. Okay, so that's not obviously an explanation, so I'm going to go with mine.
Under the light of an ophthalmoscope. Ophthalmologist Rafael Estatus Tobella explains, when you project the light from an ophthalmoscope onto the anterior part of the iris shines more than the rest, not the pupil, which creates a sense of depth. along with the impression that the iris is about to contract at any moment. Here's another explanation given by Dr. Raphael Torilla-Lavoignet. When you direct the light from the ophthalmoscope onto the pupil of a human eye, you see a bright reflection shining on the outer circle of it. When directing the light from the ophthalmoscope onto the pupil of the eye in the image of the Virgin, same bright reflection appears. And as a result of this reflection, the pupil illuminates diffusely, creating the impression of a concave relief. This reflection is impossible to achieve on a flat and moreover opaque surface. I later examined the eyes in various oil paintings, watercolors, and photographs using the ophthalmoscope. On none of them, all featuring distinct characters, could we see the slightest reflection, while the eyes of the Virgin of Guadalupe give an
Okay, so we got a Miguel Cabrera in the chat. That's supposed to be the artist of this. Miguel Cabrera, what? Our Lady of Guadalupe? Mexican painter of the late Baroque in New Spain. Okay. He was born 100 years after the after it was. How could he possibly be the painter if he was born 100 years? Or you're saying like he made up this whole story too, and somehow convinced the local population to believe in it? That's actually not convincing at all, because we'll see in the video, but. So if Miguel Cabrera is supposed to be the painter, he's born in 1695, right? And I'm not even looking at anything, any articles like he didn't do it or he did it, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying he was born in 1695. So if there are reports of this artifact from before 1695, then he could not have painted it, right? Okay, good thing there are hundreds and hundreds of them, as you'll see in the video. So nice try on Miguel Cabrera. The eye thing is just people seeing what they want to see, like ink blots. How could they be seeing what they want to see if what they want to see is not? Like, an ophthalmologist is not necessarily a Catholic or a Christian, especially when you get 15 together, especially if they're doing science. I'm not sure how you get that you could see what you want to see. And, okay, so say I granted you a human painted that. Can you just simply explain to me the what they just talked about when you shine the orthoscope or whatever the hell it is on the eye, and it appears to have this reflection and this concavity, this concave reflection that you don't get on flat images of any other painting anywhere? Could you just explain how in 1695, real quick, Miguel Cabrera did that? Because that would be awesome. And that's what you would need to do in order to say that he painted this. And if he did do that, I wonder if in any of his other paintings that feature is prevalent or exists. And my guess is going to be absolutely not. But I'm down to let's just see if anything else is as like detailed. If you're saying he painted recreations of it, then absolutely he did that, obviously. But like thousands and thousands of people did that. You know, I would get a recreation. I was thinking about getting a phone case with Our Lady of Guadalupe on it. Wouldn't that be sick? Like ink blots. I don't know what you mean like ink blots, but we're going to get into the details of the figures in the eye, and you tell me if they're ink blots. You tell me. So, a couple things that need to be explained. How could Miguel Cabrera have created the original when he was born 100 years after the earliest reports of it? And then you'd have to explain to me how he in 1695, which is when he was 1 year old, so call it 1730, whatever it is, how he in 1730 employed a technique that we can't do today when we try to recreate it, and that scientists are baffled by as being accurate to the laws of optics. So you just explain those couple things, and I will not believe in Our Lady of Guadalupe anymore. But until then, let's keep trucking forward.
Impression of life. But it's probably the third incredible discovery by the ophthalmologists in the truest sense of the word. It's really hard to believe this last discovery took place during a long phase of study and research that lasted from 1979 to 9.
Okay, so that was a good close-up.
During a long phase.
So that is the eye. And your argument. Okay, Jack. Okay, you've got another name. Let's see how if this one holds up better. Marcos Sipak de Aquino. Marcos Sipak de Aquino. And then remember, just throwing a name out there and saying this guy did it, that doesn't answer any of the questions. The question is, how did he do this magical painting that has a living eye, that has a real eye that cannot be recreated by us today? So just answer that real quick. Oh, good. And he was a Nahuatl artist. So also explain how he does it without any modern techniques in the woods somewhere. Okay, so. Okay, so this does seem like the person that people say like painted it. Obviously, these are the people that don't believe it's genuine. If you don't believe it's genuine, it has to be painted by somebody. So I'm wondering what the logic is. Hopefully we can find. I mean, I know we're not going to find it on Wikipedia, but maybe we will. Further reading, at least. Or you know what? Sometimes ChatGPT is useful for this. It totally can be recreated. Okay. You can, like, they've done that. They can do the whole eye stuff. That's great. Because there's still more questions. Remember, that's just the first fact out of 10. But I don't think it can be recreated. I'd have to see where someone's been able to do that, or they said they can do it. The Catholic claims aren't actually tested by peer-reviewed journals. That's not my understanding of the ophthalmology reports, but fair enough. If you want to cope and say that Catholic science doesn't equal science, then fair enough. But I don't believe that. And you'd still have to explain. So one of my favorite things are this pattern of the stars on the, on her like tunic or whatever, on her robe. And so that wouldn't be explained by anything, even if a person actually painted it, right? But again, we have to watch the rest of the video. So I understand that you already don't believe it, Jack. So you have all these sort of preconceived notions like, well, a person must have done it, so it must have been this guy. And Catholic science isn't real science. So yeah, Jack, I'd say you're the one coping because you don't want to. We haven't even gotten into the main body of evidence, but you have all these sort of like defenses. Yeah, I'm for real, bro. What do you think? Everyone just agrees with you all the time, even though you presented no evidence except throwing out a name. Which I'm even doing you the benefit. I'm doing you the courtesy of researching this guy and figuring out if that's really. I mean, I'm trying. You know, I don't know where you got this name. So if you have a better video, if you have some kind of video that counters this, I'd absolutely be happy to watch it. Right now, it seems like you don't. So like, why did you used to believe in it and now you don't? Like, what was convincing to you when you were a Catholic and not now? Because it sounds like when you were a Catholic, you just believed whatever. I was extremely Catholic for many years. Right. So you believed this on the basis of you being Catholic, right? That's not why I believe this. I'm not even Catholic. I believe it on the basis of the evidence, right? Have you seen the Jesus toast image? Okay, yes, I have. I don't think that's the same order of, like, sort of importance as the Lady of Guadalupe, but yes, I've seen it. It's interesting. I don't think it has any theological significance. But, okay, Kevin on Tradicath's video. Kevin on Tradicath. All right, we'll cue that up. Obviously, we're going to watch my video first. But on Tradicath. Is that what it's called? Kevin on. I think I spelled it right. Or maybe it's this. Oh, here it is. Juan Diego proves the Catholic Church is false. I am interested in this now. Okay, let's do it. Fuck it. I'll give you guys the benefit. Remember how much see how much I love you guys. See how much I give for you. We'll do your take first, and then we'll go back to the video I was watching.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin, and I am the non-traditional Catholic. This is episode 1 of Arguments Against the Veridicality of the Catholic Church. I'm starting this series as a collection of video essays that will explain why I'm not Catholic and maybe why you will want to consider also not being Catholic. This episode is titled The Argument from the Historicity of...
Real quick, Jackson says, if you believe the toast image could just be the work of randomness resulting in a holy outcome, why not this as well? The reflections could just be Jesus Toast 2.0. Well, if the reflections in the Lady of Guadalupe and all the... Remember, we didn't watch any of the video. We watched about 10% of the video. So if you already are having... If we're already having problems with the eye thing, just wait for the rest of the stuff, right? Which, that you would say this is like a blob, just a blob, when it looks so much like a person. Fair enough. I understand. So if the toast also had like some kind of reflection of people in the eye and it had the right curvature of the eye and all this stuff, I would be equally as interested in the toast, right? I just don't think the toast does have that. And maybe the toast is sent from Jesus to tell us that we need to eat more toast. I don't know. I don't care. We're not talking about that. My belief in this is evidential. I don't know anything about the toast. So if there's a bunch of evidence that says the toast is awesome, then great. I'll believe in it. This video is better than... I don't think you're going to be able to send links, but okay, so he has a better video. I'll just find it. And also, I don't particularly care if Juan Diego is real or not. Okay, I think I'll give the benefit of the doubt to the story and say that he is real, but that doesn't really matter. The question is this material, for my purposes at least, I don't know what other Catholics are going to say, and I'm not Catholic, so I really don't have a horse in this game of it being real or not, no matter what you think. The question is, what does this cloth tell us? If it cannot be produced by human hands, it tells us that it was produced by inhuman hands. Now, there's only a few pathways by which that type of thing could happen, right? So that's the point. It's either created by a human or not. You're either convinced that it could be or you're convinced that it could not be, right? So that's what we're talking about here. Okay. It seems to me that you want to believe that it is divine or something, so you are biased. I want evidence that is backed up by peer reviews. Well, that's why we're presenting you evidence, David. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, so I'm going to look up on his channel, Guadalupe. An examination of 6 common claims. This might be it. This looks like it probably is the one.
One of the first videos that I ever did on my channel was about Saint Juan Diego and how I think that his probable non-existence and non-historicity is a fairly large problem for the Catholic Church, one that is under-discussed. That video mentions Our Lady of Guadalupe.
David says YouTube videos are not evidence. What if it's a YouTube video that presents evidence? David, you idiot. I love you, David, but you're a little... No, of course a YouTube video itself is not evidence. A book isn't evidence. A movie isn't evidence. An article in a journal isn't evidence. It's what's in the journal. It's what's in the movie. It's what's in the book, right? It's the facts being presented, okay? And I'm not saying YouTube videos are infallible. Like, we're going to watch a YouTube video and there can be no mistakes and nothing is wrong. And, there's 0 errors, like the infallibility of Ignis English. I don't believe in the infallibility of Ignis English. I do believe that if even one of these facts that's presented over this 50-minute video, of which there are like 10 like categories of facts and then like more claims within those that are all equally astonishing, if one of those is true, then your worldview has a major problem. So yeah, we'll go back to Kevin.
Since Our Lady of Guadalupe was probably the second most popular Marian apparition at my chapel growing up, and since in many parts of the Catholic world Our Lady of Guadalupe is the most popular Marian apparition, I think that a video by me addressing the tilma of Juan Diego is overdue. In this video, I am going to be responding to some of the most common claims made about the tilma of Saint Juan Diego.
Nice. Love it.
Before we jump into it, I would like to give a brief overview of what the tilma is for those of you who maybe weren't raised quite like I was. According to Catholic tradition, there was a native Mexican man who lived in Mexico City in the early 1500s whose name was Juan Diego. Our Lady appeared to Juan Diego in December of 1531 and asked him to have a church built in her honor. So he went to the bishop to ask him to build that church. But the bishop asked for a sign that Mary really had appeared to Juan Diego. So he went back and he asked Our Lady for a sign. She made flowers grow right in front of him, and those flowers only bloom in the spring. So this was miraculous since it was December. So Juan Diego gathers up the flowers in his tilma, a garment worn by Mexican natives at that time, like a big flowy shirt, and he brings the flowers to the bishop. But when Juan Diego drops all the flowers at the feet of the bishop, which by itself could have been a sign, it is revealed that the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe had been miraculously imprinted on Juan Diego's tilma. The bishop is convinced, they built the church, and everyone lives happily ever after. My original video discusses why I
Don't mind David. He's just going nuts in the chat over there. What are you talking about, bro? UFOs, Bigfoot, Loch Ness, lots of claims, not much evidence. Like the pandemic YouTube video that presented evidence. Yeah, David's going nuts. Just ignore him. I don't know what. David, take your Adderall this morning, bro. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
don't think that we have enough evidence to even hold that Juan Diego is a real historical person. This video, though...
Again, my claim actually doesn't care at all if Juan Diego is a historical person. I'm just asking people to explain how this image was created materialistically. Because that's all I want. So, Juan Diego could be fake. He could be real. He could have painted it with his hands. I'm just asking how. Like, how? Literally. Pigments that don't exist. I'm hoping that this video will explain, oh, these pigments do exist. Oh, Juan Diego actually does know the exact pattern of the stars in the night on the day that he gave the thing, right? So, whatever.
About the tilma, which we still have to this day. It's housed in the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City. With that, let's examine the claims. We are going to be looking at 6 claims in this video, 4 of which come from one TikTok video. Claim number 1 is that the entire tilma was painted in a single brushstroke.
An infrared study from 1981 shows the image was made in one single brushstroke. That's physically impossible, especially for someone in the 16th century.
That's not to be clear, that's not the claim that I heard. The claim that I heard was that there are no brushstrokes. Okay, so hopefully this will be debunked for your guys' sake. So, saying one single brushstroke kind of doesn't make sense, right? My understanding was that each thread was like individually dyed or something like that. Like that would be the method if there was a materialistic method. One single brushstroke is a little confusing. So to be clear, for Kevin to contradict my point, he's going to have to address why there doesn't appear to be any brushstrokes, not just like this weird claim that it was like printed like a fucking 3D printer. I think what David wants is maybe an academic study on the topic if it exists. Yeah, I'd be happy. We can look into that. Until then, David's just going to manifest in the chat and go nuts. But I love to have it. We love the chaos in the chat. We love having a little chaos in the chat. Cool.
Before I address the claim that the tilma was painted in a single brushstroke, I need to point out that I definitely grew up learning that the tilma was not painted at all. Not that it was painted in a single brushstroke. This is similar to the claims made about the Shroud of Turin, that it simply wasn't painted at all, not that it was painted in a single brushstroke. When I look online, I see mostly claims that it was painted in a single brushstroke, like the TikTok said, but the closest thing that I could find to what I'm talking about comes from the Magis Center, who said that, quote, the original image of the Virgin herself, however, does not appear to have been painted by an artist. There is no sketch underneath it, no brush strokes, no corrections. It appears to have been produced in a single step. But then the Magis Center...
Okay, so if you do want a paper, by the way, David, because you requested a paper, and ask and ye shall receive. Look up the 1981 paper called, and I'm sure he's going to debunk it, but if you do want some sort of paper that, academic paper that talks about this, look up the tilma under infrared radiation. There you go. You want a paper? There's a paper. The claim that it isn't that it's not painted. The claim is that it's painted with ink that wasn't available. I've heard both. I think it's both, but we'll see how he handles that. Maybe it is painted and it's just not paint that's available. That would also be interesting. So you'd still have to explain that. But yeah, let's see where this goes.
There does go on to admit that, quote, several parts of the cloth which have been painted on sometime after the original image was created. So I do think, though, that the original claim that it wasn't painted at all actually comes from the original story, which is found here on the web archive. Look in particular at verses 215 through 18. They came to acknowledge its divine character, and they came to offer her their prayers. They marveled at the miraculous way it had appeared, since absolutely no one on earth had painted her beloved image. But both of these claims are wrong. The very first time that the tilma pops up in history, it is being referred to as being painted. During a formal investigation of the cloth in 1556, it was stated that the image was, quote, painted yesteryear by an Indian, and another person says it was painted specifically by the Indian painter Marcos. Marcos is probably referring to Marcos.
Wait, but what is this source? What is this source? Did I miss that? This is the earliest mention of it. The primary corroborating documentation of Marcos's painting. But I still don't understand what this source is. Like, what are we reading from right now? So, rather than replacing the Aztec goddesses, Montufar's plan was simply to introduce Mary by giving Nothin a name and a face. Recall that Marcos had painted the Virgin with dark skin. I mean, this is all already presuming that Marcos painted it, but because it was actually painted by a painter to get the natives to believe in Catholicism. The whole story is just a way to get dum-dums to believe in woo-woo. That's a little... I mean, I don't care. You can call me a dum-dum, but that's extremely condescending to the native Aztecs who obviously believed in woo-woo, more so woo-woo than Catholicism, with Quetzalcoatl, the end of the world, we gotta sacrifice our children. Like, I don't know. Way to manage to condescend to everyone in history, Jack Devani, including your own ancestors and everybody you've known and everything your culture is built on. But fair enough. So, yeah, I'm still not understanding what this study is. Did he mention it? Did I miss that?
Claims are wrong. The very first time that the tilma pops up in history, it is being referred to as being painted. During a formal investigation of the cloth in 1556, it was
a formal investigation of the cloth in 1556. Okay, so it still doesn't answer what this paper is, but the primary corroborating documentation of Marcos' painting is a report from the church in 1556. Okay, cool. Again, already assuming that Marcos painted it in the opening sentence of that paragraph, but maybe it addressed that earlier, and maybe Kevin just doesn't want to get into how they already proved that it's a painting. Maybe, whatever. When this growing disagreement between the Franciscans and the Dominicans prompted an investigation into the origins of the tilma, two of the Franciscans submitted sworn statements in which they expressed their concern that worshiping the tilma was leading the Aztecs to return to their traditional pagan ways. One described the image. Okay, so one of the Franciscans, who's already concerned about it being a pagan idol, described the image as a painting that the Indian painter Marcos had done, while another said it was painted yesteryear by an Indian. Appearing on the side of the Dominicans, who favored allowing the Aztecs to worship the image, was Bishop Montufar himself. Isn't Montufar the one it was revealed to? As a result, the construction of a much larger church was authorized at Tepeyac, in which the tilma was mounted and displayed. So I guess the idea is that, like, Montufar made up this story in order to let the Native Americans, or Native, Mexicans, still worship the thing. But how is this evidence? What does this prove, whether it's real or not? It doesn't say anything about whether it's real or not. This is just an assertion, right? It's saying, well, this story makes sense. Okay, fair enough. What about the stuff? Well, I'm sure we'll get to it. Like, just because the people that oppose it said it was painted back then, just like you're doing right now, doesn't make that true. That just makes that what they believe, what they are trying to assert, right? Okay. Jack Devani says, you have to dismiss naturalistic claims before you can accept a supernatural source. False. Yeah, I can dismiss any supernatural claim because supernatural claims aren't history by definition. Okay, you're getting in trouble now, Jack. I know you're new to the stream, so I won't give you a hard time, but part of historical criticism is looking into the first source of something. Totally agree. And what if the first source says something supernatural happened? What do you do then? Dummy. Yeah, we can get into this, Jack, and actually it'd be a lot easier if you have any courage. You'll join this Discord and we'll talk about it in person. Good point. Prove that the supernatural claims are real. David, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I'm going to address Jack right now. He said, I can dismiss any supernatural claims because supernatural claims aren't history by definition. Okay, so what's history? What is history? Is it the amalgamation of first-hand accounts, second-hand accounts? Is it looking at what people of that time were saying about their time and their figures? Because if that's history, that has nothing to do with supernatural claims. And in fact, throughout all of history, we see lots of supernatural claims. And the most important and the most real one, of course, being the crucifixion, the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So you're going to have to back that up, my friend, Devani. That doesn't even make sense. I can dismiss any supernatural claim because I don't believe in them. So when I read history, anything that's supernatural can't be real because that's not history by definition. You're circular, brother. You've logicked yourself out of an actual explanation. And also, if part of historical criticism is looking into the first source of something, what happens when all those sources say it's supernatural? I.e., the gospel. Uh-oh. Jack's in trouble. Okay. Lack of peer review, and according to ChatGPT 03 model, I know you are a ChatGPT fan. I am, David. I love ChatGPT. Lack of peer review and raw data. The monograph was self-published by Cara. The IR negatives were never archived for independent examination. A 1982 stereo microscope inspection by INBA conservator Jose Sol Rosales reported weak ground layers and pinpoint brushwork even in the face, contradicting Callahan on underdrawing and brushstrokes. Okay, I think that's what we were just talking about, that there are brushstrokes in places. That, of course, doesn't mean that someone wouldn't go over in history and make little touch-ups if they thought that was right. I don't think that would be right for them to do, but if somebody did that. Okay, so no material analysis was done. Without pigment sampling, e.g. Raman, XRF, SEM, or fiber dating, statements about inexplicable pigments remain speculative. The preservation issue is still open. Heritage scientists note that that unsized cloth kept in stable humidity and behind glass can last centuries. Unusual, but not unknown. But see what it said here? ChatGPT, remember that? So see what it says here? David, you don't need peer review, bro. Just look with your eyes. Okay. Unsized cloth kept in stable humidity. Remember, this is in tropical Mexico, the exact opposite of stable humidity, and behind glass can last centuries. Unusual but not known. But guess what? It wasn't behind for the last 200, 300 years. Glass, David. It wasn't in a museum-controlled setting for hundreds of years. So how do you explain? I'll ask ChatGPT now, if you dare. Ask ChatGPT to explain how without glass and in a unstable humidity environment, a item like this could ever survive. Just ask it that. Okay. People see pink elephants. Ask them to just use their eyes. You know that's disingenuous, and you know that's different than what we're talking about right now. Also, I've never seen a pink elephant, and you haven't presented me a pink elephant, so I wouldn't say use your eyes. You presented me a point that ChatGPT gave that I said, read it. Read the point. Okay.
Stated that the image was, quote, painted yesteryear by an Indian, and another person says it was painted specifically by the Indian painter Marcos.
Right. People who oppose the image, people who do not want people worshiping the image, are saying it's fake. Huh, I wonder why. Sounds like not much has changed.
Marcos is probably referring to Marcos Sipak, a well-known native Mexican painter who was active at that time. Let's take a look at another painting by Marcos Sipak and see if it looks like the tilma. I'll leave this one up to you.
Beautiful.
And ask you if the person who you think painted this may have also painted the tilma.
Sure, that doesn't matter at all. It's not exactly the same, but these are not the questions. Does Marcos paint things that look like the tilma? Is Marcos a good painter? The question is, can he recreate the curvature of the eye and the reflections following the laws of optics that we see in the eye? So if he's about to break down this painting and show that that's possible, and I might be done with Guadalupe, although there are tons of other facts that make it inexplicable. But so if you don't show me that, this means nothing. This literally means nothing. Because the question is, how did the painter paint it, if they did? Okay? So I'll be waiting for that explanation, and if it doesn't come, then I'm sorry, but this video is not convincing.
But we don't need to stop with a historical investigation. In 2002, Prosecco published an interview with Jose Sol Rosales, formerly the director for the Center.
Wait, so we're not going to get that? The point was literally just, doesn't this painting look like that painting? Okay, fair enough.
Prosecco published an interview.
Do we still have Jack in here, dude, or did he rage quit? Because this is supposed to be your guy. We're not getting anything out of this. And we just got David manifesting in the chat. If you need data that meet modern conservation science standards, they simply do not exist. It's not data. I'm saying, how does... He makes things so complicated, David. How does a piece of cloth from the 1500s survive until today? Without being behind a controlled glass case in an air-conditioned room with low light. Like, just how? Just answer that. No, I don't care about all these, like, words you're using. Until such a work is allowed, Callahan's 1981 booklet rather than definitive proof of anything supernatural. Yeah, you understand that's what ChatGPT is literally programmed to tell you. It doesn't believe in supernatural. I've been looking for studies, but they're all really old. One from 1756, one from 1981, one from 1979, and another one from 1981. I feel like there should be another current study on this. I totally agree. And I would be surprised if there wasn't one. I thought I heard of a 2010 one, but maybe not. It's not like that would invalidate the ones from 1981 and 79 and stuff like that. That's not that long ago. We had good methods then. I feel like we just have better technology now that would really make it even more incredible or debunk it. And so far, we've had no debunking. The only points we've had in this video, which is supposedly the best video debunking the tilma, is another guy paints paintings that looks like it. The monks back in the day, in the 1500s, which, by the way, confirms that this was at least around in the 1500s, so it is a cloth with a painting that has survived 500 years without significant degradation, is already a miracle. Like, that is already miraculous by itself. Forget everything else, right? And so we have the monks that opposed it back then saying, well, it was probably this guy because we don't like it, so it was probably Marcos. And then going, oh, it probably was Marcos. Oh, and Marcos paints things that kind of look like it. This is not a refutation. This is not a debunking. If anything, this is like weak evidence ignoring. I mean, it's not evidence at all. It's actually kind of like tangential. But ignoring the main, so far, and I'm not saying he won't get into this stuff. I'm hoping he will. He really needs to. Reflections in the eyes, that'll be interesting. Unnatural longevity, that'll be interesting. Tilma conversions, sure. And then the music in the tilma is really interesting. I can't wait to get to that part. Okay, so I think we get the single brushstroke. Well, actually, he didn't say why there's no brushstrokes, because that claim doesn't just come out of nowhere. But that doesn't mean God. Can you accept that you just don't know and leave it at that until there is more evidence? No, unlike you, David, I'm not a coward, so I actually stand on my convictions and believe in things. I actually have a worldview that's coherent and constructive and says something instead of just wandering around blindly in the field of I don't know anything. I don't know why you would do that. You don't have to do that. You can turn on your flashlight, brother. But it doesn't mean God. Okay, yeah, we said that. How long did the Dead Sea Scrolls survive? That's a great question, David. They survived 2,000 years in a climate-controlled environment. That was what was special about them. They were in a cave in the desert, very little humidity fluctuation, in sealed jars, which also would reduce the humidity, receiving no light, right? Okay, that's museum conditions. That's what's so amazing about the Dead Sea Scrolls. They would not have survived if they were not in museum conditions. This item has survived and was in the opposite, like the actual most hostile possible environment you could explain. So we're going to get that out in the video. I don't think that's not a good rebuttal, David, to compare the Dead Sea Scrolls to this, because that actually proves my point, right? Okay.
And the image was then rendered in distemper, as in paint consisting of pigment, water, and a binding medium. The artist used a very limited palette consisting of black from pine soot, white, blue, green, and various earth colors, and reds and golds. Rosales concluded that the image did not originate supernaturally, but was instead the work of an artist who used the materials and methods of the 16th century.
Okay, so even if that's all true, I'm going to grant all of that. Like, an artist did this using the materials of the 19th century. Wait, did they say 19th century? Because that also wouldn't even be a good point.
White, blue, green, and various earth colors, and reds and golds. Rosales concluded that the image did not originate supernaturally.
Also, this is not a peer-reviewed study because he did it secretly. So if you want peer-reviewed studies, this does not fall under that. Fortunately, I'm not a dummy that only relies on those. I can rely on actual evidence and logic. So I'm just going to trust this guy. I'm going to give this guy that. I mean, if he said 19th century, we actually have to hear that because that's hilarious. That actually proves nothing. Because remember, they're talking about it in the 1500s. So it must exist in the 1500s. So if he used a black soot dye from India that's available to everybody in 1872, that means nothing. That tells you nothing about how they got it in Mexico, right? But all of that, say I grant all of that. Okay, they have the dye. It's painted by a human. It's this, it's that. What about the eye? What about the music? What about the stars? And I understand we're going to get to that, so just keep that in mind. Nothing has been so far debunked. And, maybe it will be. Let's see.
But was instead the work of an artist who used the materials and methods of the 16th century. So whether or not Marcos painted it, it was painted in more than one brushstroke. The second claim that we'll look at today is the claim.
Wait, how did he get that?
The work of a conclude palette consisting of black from pine soot, white, blue, green, and various earth colors, and reds and golds. Rosales concluded that the image
16th century.
did not
Gotcha.
originate supernaturally, but was instead the work of an artist who used the materials and methods of the 16th century.
Gotcha. Okay.
So whether or not Marcos painted it, it was painted in more than one brushstroke.
Great. So now answer the other
second
questions.
claim that we'll look at today is the claim that there are reflections in the eyes of Our Lady on the tilma.
When Mary's eyes are magnified 2,500 times, you can actually see the reflection of the people who were standing there at the time of the apparition. Also, the image is triple layered, which is what happens to the natural human eye. This phenomenon was not known about in the 1500s.
That TikTok's not the only place that I've heard this. I've heard this all over, but perhaps most notably, Catholic apologist Patrick Madrid will talk about this often as like a scientific.
But you acknowledge, Jack, that nothing's been debunked yet. I'm just trying to build through this video to make sure you don't think that you win some kind of gotcha. Because I have to take this slowly because none of you believe in this. So I have to explain to you why there's room on both sides for either, so far at least. And if this guy gives me a solid explanation for all of the points in this video, then debunked. I won't believe in it. I'm not even a Catholic. I'm not even sure if Catholics have to believe in it. For the Shroud of Turin, they don't have to. It's optional. So probably it's optional for this as well. That's not what I'm basing this off of. I'm basing, can someone explain the inexplicable features of the tilma? Can they explain the evidence? So far, all I'm saying, no evidence has been... Either there's an earthquake or my cat's just exploded something, so hold on. It has been painted. You said it wasn't painted. I said that's what I heard, so I can give up the painted. I can happily give that up. There's still 10 other facts that need to be explained. And I'm not totally convinced by this secret. Just because one guy secretly went in and was like, we could totally do this in the 1500s. I'm not totally convinced by that. But I'll grant you that it was painted. Even though I don't totally believe it because of the secret, also not peer-reviewed study by Jose Sol Rosales. I'll just grant that to you because there's other bigger problems so that we're going to have to explain, right? Okay, I'll grant the things that you want. It's painted. It's painted by Marcos. It's painted by this and that. It doesn't explain the miraculous preservation of it. So we're going to hear about how the eyes are explained. I'm actually really interested in that. I just got to check on my cats real quick. Hold on. What are you guys doing? Okay, what's up, Numenon? Welcome. Yeah, Jack says, you said it wasn't painted. Catholics don't have to believe it. That's what I thought. I won't just believe based on hearsay. There's no proof that I've ever heard for anything supernatural. Well, that's exactly what we're going through today, David, so why don't you listen up? All right, Ghost. You want to believe without evidence? I get that. You do that well. I have to run a photo shoot. Adios. All right, peace, David. Even though you end on that little condescending, like, snickering jeer. I hope your photo shoot goes well. The main problem with evidence for the supernatural is how your prior beliefs determine how you interpret the evidence. Thus, the naturalist will always find a natural explanation. Totally agree, Numenon. It's a great point. I still want to challenge the naturalist with these types of things because sometimes I think you can crack through a little bit. Like, we've gotten some concessions. Like, okay, obviously this isn't going to make the ex-Catholic Jack Devani believe in God again. Certainly not. That's going to take some kind of major change or some kind of internal change or something like that if he comes back, which I pray he does. I pray you do, Jack. But it's like, it's all about kind of cracking that hard outer shell. Because I remember when I deconverted from Christianity, I became super, like, Neil deGrasse Tyson, like, atheist. Like, everything can be explained by science. Everything can be explained by science. And it was just a series of, like, oh, wait, this can't be explained by science. Oh, wait, this can't be explained by science. Oh, wait, this can't be explained by science. Oh, wait, epistemology actually can't be explained by science. And then you get back to God. But the whole point of a miracle is that it's supposed to bolster someone's faith as a supernatural act that could not have been some natural thing. Yeah, I think that's a good function. I don't know if that's not the whole point of a miracle, but that is a good function of a miracle. So yeah, you gotta dismiss the naturalistic possibilities. No, I don't, especially for things that are not like this is until like a week ago, I'd never even heard of Our Lady of Guadalupe. You know what I mean? And so then I just saw these evidences, and I'm even being, I'm even trying to, like, falsify my own belief, but so far it hasn't been falsified. Yeah, I was just looking at the evidence and seeing it's true. So I'm not dismissing any naturalistic possibilities. Like, for instance, if if this was just a painting and there was a story of how it came to be, and then there was nothing at all special about the painting, then of course I wouldn't believe it was divinely inspired, no matter what the story is, right? Because anyone can make up any story. Like, I actually don't care what the story is on some level. And I do because it's interesting and because I believe it is a miracle. But, like, intrinsically, I don't give a shit about the story at all. Just show me something unexplainable. That's it. All right, let's continue.
Also, the image...
If you don't dismiss the naturalistic probabilities, then how can you proceed that it's a miracle? No, it's exactly because I know about the naturalistic probabilities and what normally happens in nature that this must be a miracle. That's exactly how it works. Miracles are not, like, there's nothing that says you dismiss naturalistic explanations for things. A miracle is when nature is a system, right? The natural world is a system. And within that system, we have like very concrete, defined laws, mechanics, mathematics, things that are just sort of set in stone. But I'm going to say no, but for your sake, I'll say believe in the uncaused cause outside of the system, okay? Who enters into the system at his will to make incredible things happen, actually to animate the system itself. But forget about that. So if the natural world is this, consider it a sphere with normal laws, like babies aren't born without sex happening. When you die, you don't come back to life. Images are not created by painters with reflections of people in their eyes and the stars matching the constellations in the sky perfectly on the day that it was supposed to have happened, yada, 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 all that stuff. Insert all the stuff we haven't even gotten to talk about the Toma. It's because I know how the natural world typically works that when something atypical comes, you recognize it as a miracle. So miracles only even make sense within the framework of comparing it to naturalistic possibilities. That's what a miracle is. So I'd agree that evidence does matter. I'm just skeptical as to whether they would sway a rational person. Like, usually this comes down to how we interpret the evidence. Yeah, Newman, and you're seeing that exactly in the chat with David and Jack throughout this whole thing. Jack says, name one instance of the natural laws of science being broken in one of these miracles you believe in, because as far as I know, none of them have been broken. Okay, how about the virgin birth? Boom. How about the resurrection? Boom. How about the miracles I've witnessed in my life when, well, it's a whole long story, but friend dies, we're in mourning, a funny running joke that we have between me and my friend and anyone who came to our apartment before he died was we had these dead flowers in the window, but you couldn't open the window to water them, so we couldn't change the flowers, we couldn't water them. They were perpetually these dead sticks, twigs pointing out of the ground. Fast forward, friend is dead. Other friends are over at that apartment, which we lived in together at the time that he died. We're mourning, but we're celebrating his life. We're laughing. We're crying. We're all the emotions you experience if you've had to suffer that tragedy. And I go to open the window because it's getting hot in here. Remember, the window that you can't open enough to get to the flowers. Just open it a crack, and I collapse to the floor. And all the flowers are brilliant red, completely come back to life. Every single pot. And my naturalist, materialist friend is there, so he and I go through all the naturalistic probabilities. This is how you determine whether something's a miracle. You actually call Greg's mom and say, hey, did you happen to, like, replace the flowers in our apartment when you came to get some of Greg's stuff? Oh, you didn't? No, I didn't think you did. It wouldn't make sense for you to do that. Okay, well, here's this thing. She collapses she knows it's her son, obviously. That's not evidence. I'm just saying that. I'm just adding that in there. Okay, then you call the building. Hey, did you guys happen to change the flowers in the pots, on this particular day? No, we certainly certainly didn't do that. And then you go to your neighbors and their flowers in the same type of pot are completely dead. You go, well, I didn't do it. No one else has access to the apartment. Maybe, this is what you would have to believe if you're a naturalist. You know what probably happened? I bet a homeless guy took a ladder, climbed up to our second floor apartment window, replaced the flowers in the window with the living flowers, and then left as sort of a gesture of goodwill. That's what you'd have to believe as a naturalist. It's insane. That's like the least evidential thing. The inference to the best evidence is obviously that there is a spiritual force, a life after death, some sort of reanimating, miraculous action happening in the universe. Not that like random homeless guy replaces flowers. So okay, I know you guys have been chatting. If you don't think the church, which receives a lot of money when believers make pilgrimages, wouldn't get some people making claims that aren't true. Of course they do. I'm not talking about claims that aren't true. I'm talking about claims that are true. So stay focused, Jack. We're not talking about things that aren't true, that don't have evidence, that are fake, that are lies. We're talking about things that are not lies. And I'm not saying the church never lies. Again, I'm not a Catholic, so you're not going to get me with that. Maybe I will be soon, and I'll have to defend it a different way, but whatever. You witnessed the virgin birth and the resurrection. No, but there's great historical evidence for the resurrection, which we get into all the time on the channel. So certainly believe in the resurrection. That leads me also to believe in the other claims of the gospel. So I didn't witness the virgin birth, or the resurrection. But let's just stick with the resurrection. Hundreds of other people did. And so we can look at what people said that were eyewitnesses at the time, and that's called doing history. But if your history involves not including supernatural claims, then all you have to say... So what is your opinion about that, Jack, actually? Were the disciples the original apostles and martyrs in the early Christian church? Were they liars? Were they lunatics? Were they like just deeply confused and mistaken? Or did they actually see what they died for? Did they actually believe the thing they died for? That's what I'd just ask you. I'm just curious why you take those claims as true, but supposedly rejecting the other miraculous claims from other religions. Oh, I don't reject other miraculous claims from other religions. I don't. I think the Lord can work through anybody, through anything, through any religion to make miracles happen. 100%. I think you see more miracles, more profound miracles. I think you see correct theology in the Christian tradition. So that's why I'm a Christian, one of many reasons. But that doesn't mean miracles don't take place outside of it. I never said that. Flowers blooming equals prove God. Yes, in a way. Okay, God cares so much about you to bloom flowers, but doesn't give a shit when the children starve to death. Wow, man, you're edgy, bro. That's so edgy. You know how much he gives a shit? He saves them in heaven, you idiot. He gives them eternal life from the wellspring of life.
Unless they're atheists.
No, not unless they're atheists. No child is an atheist. Okay. And the spiritual force is, of course, the one you grew up with. No, false. I was an atheist when this happened. At least deeply, profoundly agnostic. Infamous.
He's saying that you grew up with being Christian and being around Christians.
Yeah, so that would actually make me less inclined because I grew up with it. So it pushed me out of it because they were intense and were telling me that the earth was created 6,000 years ago and all the stuff I didn't agree with and thought was wrong, that evolution didn't exist and all these things.
Yeah, but nobody's saying that you have the exact same interpretation of Christianity that your parents do. We just say that you're a Christian. You have similar beliefs to your parents.
Yeah, but I'm saying they pushed me out of the Christian church, so I was hostile to Christianity. So that it's the opposite point. So I'd be in church. Yeah, so now I realize I was just hostile to that church. But at the time, I was hostile towards Christianity as a concept in general. I thought it was this religion of war and violence and death and disease. And, of course, I was extremely wrong. But also, welcome, Infamous. Good to have you. Thanks for joining. We got a new chatter who's sort of not up to speed on all the stuff going on, so we're going through a lot right now. But
to accept the resurrection, you have to accept Muhammad's bleeding moon. I'm not familiar with the Muhammad splitting the moon thing as much as I am the resurrection, but I mean, hey, if there's the same evidence for it, whatever.
Yeah, I just don't think there's any actual evidence for that. Because if Muhammad split the moon,
think
you would
that
see
there's the
writings of
exact
that
same-
all over the world. No, there's not the exact same evidence.
I think that there's the exact same amount of evidence, considering that everyone can see the moon. In fact, I think that we could say that there's more evidence if that's the case. But
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but no one
It's
wrote
not-
about it. So, like, if everyone can see the moon and it was split in
They're
half,
wrong.
you'd expect to get writings of the moon being split in half from every culture all over the world.
what do you mean exactly? You aren't familiar, brother? I'm on your side. I'm an atheist.
Are you talking to Jack in the chat?
Yeah, brother's
Uh,
like, you aren't. Of course, you are unfamiliar. Yeah, of course, I'm not. I was.
Yeah. I mean, Jack
Speak
really,
to
he's
me.
brand new, so we'll welcome him to the thing. Jack, the way this works is basically this is a mini cult where I'm the leader, but everybody disagrees with me. Right? So this is a chat for people like you to basically yell at me and for me to apologize for Christianity in the literal sense, as in defend it, right? So yeah, Infamous is on your side. Most people on your side. Numenon happens to be, have some common sense. He's on my side. I'm just kidding. I threw that in. I slipped that in there. Okay.
I mean,
no.
I'm just going to go with my point. Like, any natural explanation, no matter how ridiculous, is more plausible than a supernatural explanation.
Yeah, and that's
Because
called
there is no realm-
scientism.
Because there is no demonstration of the supernatural realm. That's science.
No, that's not. Yeah,
Well,
that's
something isn't-
scientism.
Something
That's
isn't
scientism.
no. Something isn't a reason unless the reason can be demonstrated.
Okay, so tell
That's
me.
science. That's
So
empiricism.
okay. Well, first of all, you're just assuming that the supernatural realm can't be demonstrated. I don't grant
That's
you
not what I
that.
said.
I don't
said
agree
it
with that.
hasn't been demonstrated.
Well, if it hasn't been demonstrated, but the assumption is also that science can't demonstrate it because that's baked
not
into what you
said.
said.
I asked
Okay,
you to
so tell me,
demonstrate it.
how do you do if you do a scientific experiment, i.e., like you examine the Our Lady of Guadalupe, which is the theme of our stream today, or
no
say
idea.
you're convinced by the historical evidence of the resurrection of Christ, or say
Yeah, I don't care whatever ridiculous explanation I have to come up with to justify it in a natural sense. That's the point of my comment.
Okay, so
You have to demonstrate a
that-
causal link between supernatural.
No, I don't.
claims
I just
and
no,
the
because
supernatural.
science is about
Absolutely
making
do.
an
That's what
inference
science
to the
is.
best evidence. It's about making an inference to the best evidence. So if your inference is way less probabilistic than my inference, scientifically, my
probability.
inference is better.
You have no probability.
You don't either.
There's
You
no
don't have
thing.
to. There's no probability to like
okay, first
the
of all, you
end
said
of a science.
You literally said probabilistic.
Okay, you're
I'm
right.
not
You're right.
putting-
You're
I'm not
right.
putting words in
But
my
wait.
mouth.
So why
But-
do I have no probability then?
Because there's no actual demonstration of the realm being true. There's no demonstration of supernatural being able to cause.
But I'm
anything.
talking
There's
about the
no
scientific
demonstration.
method. I'm saying forget if it's true. Forget if it's not
Demonstrate
true.
the cause is able to be to possibly cause this. When I have a burned kitchen,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
If I have no clue what fire is, how in the fuck could I say this might have been caused by fire?
So
have to
wait, this is
say-
a good point. This is a great example. So your kitchen is burned down, but you don't know what fire is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the setup?
Sure.
Does
And
that
then
mean
we
the
know that
fire
there's, like,
didn't
other
burn down?
things for
Does that
instance.
mean that the fire did not burn down the
Absolutely not.
kitchen?
But we're talking about absolutely not. You're
There you
correct.
go, Bummer.
You're absolutely correct. But we're
Yeah.
not talking about the actual objective truth of the matter. We're talking about whether or not we are justified in believing them.
Yeah. Okay. So what would happen? Okay,
So
this
until
is a
there's
great.
evidence to
It's
believe it,
hilarious you
why
gave
would
this
I do it?
example. Like it's a perfect example. I wish I had thought of it. Like well done. Okay, so you walk into your house and your kitchen is burned to the ground, but like fire, it's never been heard
Isn't
of,
a
or maybe
concept to me, yeah.
some crazy people believe in fire, like way off in the jungle or even next door, but they're just
let's
kind
say
of
I know
stupid.
but let's say I know what meteors are, right? I could have like, let's say there's a person on my left being like, okay, a meteor hit this. And I'm like, well, I know what meteors are, but I don't believe you necessarily. And then this other guy beside me says, well, fire burned it down. This is what it looks like when fire burns things down. Now, he might be absolutely correct, but I have no idea what fire is, and he hasn't demonstrated the fire can do this. So I'm going to look at him and be like, I don't know if you're true. I don't know if that's true.
Okay, so what are you gonna say?
That's
Like,
exactly
what
what
are
I'm
you
doing
gonna
with
say
this.
happened to your kitchen then?
I have no fucking clue. You are
Right,
so
exactly.
Bro, this is the thing.
This is
This is the
exactly
thing.
it. You just
We're
you
so-
just
I have
stop
not a
at
clue.
I
Every
don't
time we
know.
went through
You
this.
just keep stopping at I
Thank
don't
you.
know. Good
No,
for
we
you,
don't
dude.
stop-
Well
we don't-
done.
don't stop
So you
this.
have
We
no
don't stop.
coherent worldview. You have absolutely no coherent
Oh my
worldview.
God,
You just
we're
get to
going back
like.
to this.
Well, it's true. I mean, how do you
No,
how
it's
do you
not fucking
ground
true.
epistemology?
You don't know okay, how
do you
do
ground
know,
epistemology?
Okay, how do you know? Okay, first of all, how do you know that God exists? Tell me. How do you ground your
Because I
epistemology?
because I know him on a relational level.
Because you know it, right?
I'm
That's
personally
right,
in
right.
relationship with God, so that's how
You're
I know.
personally in a relationship with God. How does this
what
relationship
what
manifest?
reasons? In prayer, in conversation, in
And how does that
giving
work?
me
Like, what's the
emotional.
mechanism by which you receive any kind of coherence with him?
I would say the ladder
Is it a
of
feeling?
Christ descending from heaven into my heart and me
That
doing
is
my
all
best
gibberish.
to climb up. Okay, well, what do you want then? You want the method
Well,
by which
if we're
prayer
just,
works?
Yeah, I
What
want
are you
the
talking
method by
about?
which. Yeah, I want the method by which prayer works. We're talking about science, right?
Okay.
Not scientism. So I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you for exact experiments as to how we can demonstrate that the Holy Spirit fills you.
Okay.
So how can we demonstrate that? Because we're trying to prove the supernatural, right? So if we're
Yes.
trying to say the supernatural is a possible explanation for any given situation, you need
Yeah.
to demonstrate that it exists.
Okay.
So demonstrate that the supernatural exists. What's one demonstration of the supernatural existing? And don't give me something that is unexplainable other than the supernatural, other than magic.
But how else
Because
would
it's
I
not
do it?
unexplainable.
How would I?
It's not
else would I do it?
unexplainable. It's just unlikely. Hey, if you're just gonna say how could I do that, too bad for you.
Well,
If
how
you're
could
just gonna
you?
say how could I
How
possibly
could?
do
Okay,
that,
so
too
give me
bad.
a. So how do you explain your love for your mother, or like what did you ask me? How do I know? What's the mechanism by
That I
which
have
prayer
a
works?
deep personal
What's the
connection with her.
Oh no! Give me something that isn't your deep personal connection. It has to be something else. It has
Oh,
to be
well, I
something
can show you my mother
demonstrable.
and the actions by which we interact with each
Okay,
other.
so
That's
what's
the
the
thing. That's
scientific
demonstrations.
method
Please
you
tell
use?
me.
How do
Please
you
tell
know
me
that you're
the God? Please
the
show me
chemicals
God, and
are-
please show me how He loves
Do
you.
you see what I'm
Please show
doing?
me the actions He takes. No, I don't.
Oh,
see
the
what
action
you're
he
doing
takes?
because I'm
Yeah.
asking you because
He
I
gives
can
me peace in
demonstrate. I
my
can show
heart.
you my
He-
mother. I can
he-
show you my mother. I can
he
show
cured
you the
my
actions we
anxiety.
take towards each other. I can show you by how we do everything together. You can't show me that for God. You just say
Yes,
there
I
is this
can.
person. They have this relationship, but you can't
Yeah.
demonstrate the relationship. I can.
You can demonstrate the love that your mother has for you,
I can demonstrate the
you know for
relationship
sure
by
it's
the
not a
actions,
trick
yes.
of chemicals in your brains and stuff like that.
What do you mean a trick? That's how it works. It's the chemicals in my brain.
Well, of course, that's what you believe. But okay, so what are you asking for? You're asking me for to demonstrate my
I'm asking you to demonstrate
relationship
the
with
supernatural.
God?
Please go do that. No, demonstrate the supernatural because until
That's what we're doing. That's
you
what the whole
demonstrate-
thing is about today.
Until you demonstrate the supernatural, there is absolutely no reason. no
Okay,
matter how
can you
unlikely,
explain to
that
me
I
what
should
you mean
not
by
believe there is a
demonstrate?
natural solution.
Can you explain to me what you mean by demonstrate?
Show
Yeah.
me that it exists.
Like with your eyes, like in front of your eyes.
I don't mean with
give
my
you
eyes. Any
show you a
sensory
ghost.
experience.
Okay,
Any
a smell,
sensory
a
experience.
taste, but you're not allowed to use your brain, right? You're not allowed to think.
What are you talking about? There's a sensory
Well, because you said I'm not allowed to make an inference to the best inference to the evidence. So that's using your brain.
It's not the best inference
So-
because you don't even know if it's possible.
dude.
You have to
this is
demonstrate it before you can demonstrate
ridiculous.
possibility.
Dude, no, you don't. Literally, no,
you
you don't.
absolutely do. If I say schmorblediggo,
Oh, okay, wait. So
caused
the
this,
evolutionary
I
theory
have
is
to prove that that is a
okay.
possibility.
So the
first.
evolutionary theory is impossible. Actually, it doesn't. It's not consistent
What do
in
you
your
mean? We've
worldview.
absolutely demonstrated that they're possible.
Yeah,
and
but
we've
what about
demonstrated it works.
what
It's
about when Charles
demonstrable in
Darwin came up
labs.
with it? It had not been demonstrated that there was adaptability and change, that a species could change and evolve and become other species.
Correct,
That was
and then we
not at all
investigated.
demonstrated.
Correct.
Yeah,
I would absolutely.
So by your
say,
logic,
if
he
I-
never
no,
would have
I would
started it.
absolutely
He
say,
never
no,
would have
that's
started
not how
it.
it fucking works. That's not how it works.
You
Science
are
works by
so-
inference and investigation.
Uh-huh.
And so after Darwin said what he wanted, he investigated, and so did they, and people afterwards investigated. He was wrong about some things, he was right about other things. That's how it works. If I don't have reason to believe you now, please do the science. Please show me.
Well, that's what this
Please
whole
do the
thing is
things
about. That's what
after
this
people
whole
Darwin
Guadalupe
did.
thing is about. That's literally what we're doing right now, and that's what I'm
Except that
surprised
he
you're
went to
saying this because we've been
investigate that
doing
it was a
this.
possibility. You haven't demonstrated it's a possibility, and just like people mightn't have been able to believe Darwin back then, I am absolutely not
Wait,
able to believe you right now.
You said it's not. Wait, you say it's not a possibility for God to
I
exist or
said
for
you
the
haven't
supernatural.
demonstrated it's a possibility.
Wait, okay, but that means that you can't use that possibility that I haven't demonstrated in any sort of hypothesis or conclusion
Correct.
or
You have to
anything like that.
demonstrate it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so anything that has not been demonstrated yet
Demonstrated
cannot be
to be a
used.
possibility can't be used as an explanation. That's absolutely how science
Okay,
works.
so
It's
then
not science.
then we can't do
That's
science.
science.
Then we cannot do science. How do you hypothesize anything?
What are you talking about?
You said
Okay,
if you haven't
listen.
demonstrated something to be a possibility, it cannot enter into the scientific method. Then you can't start any experiments,
You can
dummy.
demonstrate
What the
it.
fuck are you talking about?
Then you go demonstrate it.
But
You
before
can't
you've
say that
demonstrated
anything
it,
is
you
the
can't,
absolute
right?
Cause. You can't say something is a cause of something if
Great.
you haven't demonstrated that something to exist. So you go out and demonstrate it exists. Demonstrate the
So
supernatural
that's what
exists.
that's what God is doing through us and through nature and through the resurrection of Christ and through the Lady of Guadalupe, through the revelation of Fatima, through all the
Demonstrate-
supernatural
okay,
things that
again,
you just
demonstrate that they
ignore.
exist.
That's what we're
Demonstrate it
doing.
exists.
That's what we're talking about. Okay, we need to move on because now we're going in circles, and if you want me to demonstrate it, then let me demonstrate it. Then let me demonstrate it.
You're just
But
saying these
do you
things.
understand that you're
demonstrated?
what you're
You're not saying
requiring
either
of
way.
a demonstration requires you to turn off your brain because I'm not allowed to make an inference to evidence?
Brother,
As
you're-
long
you
as
just keep
supernatural
saying
is
that it's
involved?
an inference to evidence. I'm asking you to demonstrate why the inference
Okay,
is even
we're moving
possible.
on. This is retarded.
Demonstrate.
I can't believe that you're this.
This is how science works. Listen, you want to absolutely
Dude.
go and be like, this isn't scientism, we want to do science. This is how science
This
is done.
is scientism. You're saying I'm
No,
not
it's not.
allowed
This
to
is how
enter
science is
in.
done.
I'm not allowed to enter in a hypothesis for something I haven't demonstrated.
You
Which, by the way,
absolutely
I
are.
think
You
this is
absolutely are.
demonstrated.
You absolutely are. You're able to put in a hypothesis. Now demonstrate the cause. Because
Okay,
I can say.
let's watch the
that,
video.
for instance.
Do you
I
want to
can
watch
say,
the
for
video or
instance-
no? I mean, it seems like you're just asserting
you-
that there is no
Hey,
evidence, even
I
though we've been
didn't say
talking
that there
about
was
evidence
no
the whole
evidence.
time.
I'm saying that any situation by which you think that there can't be a naturalistic explanation, you would have to absolutely. First of all, you would either have to eliminate all possibilities for natural claims, which isn't possible.
Well, you can't.
do
Science
that.
never does that.
You're not God.
So,
Yeah, no, I'm saying that's not possible.
yeah.
Because like obviously, with any claim, you could be like, okay, I'm just going to eliminate every other possibility, but that's not practical.
Yeah.
Or you have to demonstrate that your one is possible.
Yes.
That's how science is done.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay. Good. And
possibility
so
claim.
God is obviously possible because we've shown that. I thought you just said I don't know to a bunch of stuff epistemologically. So if God is possible, then obviously he's possible. So I'm gonna throw him in there as a
God is
possible
then he's
explanation.
possible. Please demonstrate.
Well, no,
that he's possible.
I'm saying you already said he's possible because you said you don't
No, I
know
didn't.
to all the epistemological claims. No. When we get
What
to
are
the
you
laws of
talking
logic.
about?
Wait. Am I wrong here? When we get to the transcendental argument, I say, how do you ground these things? You say, well, they could be grounded in this. They could be brute facts. They could be grounded in something else. I don't know. So one of those things in I don't know
My
is
answer
God.
is I don't know. It isn't everything is possible.
Okay, so God is not possible as a grounding for the transcendental
No,
categories.
okay. Now we're gone here again.
Well,
if I
he
say
either
that I
is or
don't
he
believe one
isn't,
thing,
infamous.
if-
Dude,
yeah, correct.
calm down,
That is about
slow
the
down,
truth of the
slow
statement.
down,
That is about
slow
the truth
down.
of the statement.
God is either
I'm-
possible or
I'm speaking
impossible.
very
Which is it?
clearly.
Which is it?
I'm
God-
speaking- I'm
impossible or
speaking very
possible?
Clearly. Oh my God, brother.
Okay.
I'm speaking very clearly.
Okay, answer,
I'm
please.
not going fast. I was about
Answer
to,
the
but, you know, I had to
question.
explain myself now.
Answer the
Okay.
question, please.
I don't know if about the objective fact,
This is
right?
insane.
Whether or not someone did the crime or did not do the crime, I don't know. Whether or not he's guilty or innocent, I have no idea. However, am I able to accept whether or not he is guilty or is innocent? Or sorry, is guilty or is not guilty? Yeah, I can do that. So
Okay,
if I
so it's
go,
possible
oh,
that he's
so
either
if you
guilty
say-
or or
if
not
you
guilty.
say, if you say,
Yeah.
for instance, is he guilty? And I go, I don't know. That doesn't mean I think he's innocent, does it?
Yeah, but do you think it's possible that he's innocent?
Answer the question.
No, of course it doesn't. I didn't ask you that question.
Okay,
though, so this is
there
a
you-
total
yes, you
red
did,
herring.
because you
I asked
yes,
you if
you
God
did.
is
You can go back in the
possible or not.
recording.
Is it
You can
possible
go
for
back
that
in the
man to be
recording, 'cause
guilty?
The whole reason I brought this up is because you said, okay, so is he either possible or not
Yes,
possible?
yes,
And I said,
exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And because that's the objective fact. He either is or he is not. That's a
Okay,
true statement.
so then so
right?
if he either is or is not, and you don't know, then both of those are viable options, right? Or
no,
no?
they're not. That doesn't mean they're
Okay,
possible.
explain it without getting all no. Just explain it. Why are if you
Sure,
don't
if you want to
know?
interrupt me, I'll explain it.
Wait, but can I just ask the question clearly so that
Go
you
on.
have a clear question to answer and hopefully clearly this time? If you don't know that God is possible or impossible, so far we're good, right? We agree with that? Okay, you don't know whether he's possible or impossible, then he might be possible, right?
He might be possible.
Like, that's one of the actual options.
You're just saying he might be might.
Sure.
I don't
Might
know.
he be? Might
You're,
he
you're
be?
just you're just throwing back the question.
Can you answer the question though? Might God exist?
I did. I said I have no idea. Like you're just saying.
That's
it's
not an
possible, it's
answer.
possible.
That's throwing it back to maybe
That's
he is, maybe he's.
absolutely an answer. It's just not a yes or a no, which humans don't have to give with their
I
opinion.
asked you a yes or no question. Might he exist? It's literally either yes or no. He either might
No,
or he
that's
might
the
not.
objective fact. I have no fucking clue. If I ask you what 120 million divided by 7 is, what is your answer?
I don't know, but I know there is an answer.
There you go, right? But you know
I know there is an answer, but you're saying I don't even know if there is an answer. I don't even know if there is one.
There is two. I know that there is two, and there is an answer.
Okay, we
got
got
no idea if the dot exists.
We're running in circles here. I appreciate having you back. I'm glad we're getting heated and back into it. So let's go to the chat and let's continue because you're looking for evidence. Let's get to the evidence. Okay. So Hindus believe in their gods. Doesn't make them real. Completely agree. Although I would say they actually probably are real. They're just more like angels and demons. So anyone that is a theist means that God exists because they believe God exists. No, I don't think I said that, but fair enough. If my worldview dictates that all proofs from Newman on assume God, if my worldview dictates that all proofs must assume God, then you appealing to a proof that doesn't assume God would just assume my standard is wrong. You have to show how a standard results in absurdity. That's good, Numenon. Numenon's good about keeping us on the transcendental arguments here. In my view, demonstration is relative.
God, then you appealing to a proof that doesn't assume God would assume my standard is wrong.
You have to show how your entire worldview either leads to absurdity or doesn't. And the atheistic one leads to absurdity.
No, you don't.
The Christian one does not. Okay.
No, you
so
don't.
In my view, fair enough. We're just going to move on, though. And by the way, because this chat is like kind of split or maybe it leans towards atheists, like when I move on, it's just like, okay, you choose at that point who you believe, right? You choose whose argument you take, who made more sense. I'm not trying to like shut down conversation or anything like that. All right. In my worldview, it dictates that all proof. Okay, so in my view, demonstration is relative to the belief system. That's what I think Infamous is doing here. I'll let him respond to that, where he's saying demonstrate it, but only in a way that I will accept. I won't accept any of the other demonstrations.
I don't care how you demonstrate it. As
long so then you'll accept the resurrection of Christ,
as long as
the empty
it
tomb.
Makes sense.
Okay, so those make sense. The empty tomb, what
no,
doesn't make sense about that?
You're just saying that there's a natural explanation, but it's absurd. And then there's this other realm of supernatural claims that explains it perfectly. But guess what? Magic explains everything perfectly. Please demonstrate magic.
Well, if it explains everything perfectly, then that would be a pretty damn good demonstration in my book. But
Zeus explains lightning perfectly. Was it the case?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't explain lightning perfectly
he
because when you get up, when you get up into a lightning cloud and you actually study it, he doesn't explain it. Yeah. But God still explains things that we can study. So
magic explains perfectly things we don't know.
Yeah, but that's not even what I'm doing. I'm just saying there's certain things that lead us to believe.
Do you know what happened to the tomb without magic?
Well, nothing happened to the tomb without magic.
Sorry, do you know what happened to Jesus Christ when he resurrected without magic? The answer is no. So
no, it's a magical thing. That is magic.
Exactly.
Like, so what's your point?
You need magic to answer the question.
Yeah, because that's the only reasonable answer. I mean, okay.
It's not reasonable because you haven't.
Well, I'll just put it back on you. Just demonstrate that there's any like rational, naturalistic answer, especially one that has a higher probability of the magic.
Sure, natural explanations are demonstrable. Magic isn't.
Okay, so what's the natural explanation for the empty tomb?
Hey, again, I'm not saying I know what the answer is. I'm saying any answer.
You're just saying I know that you're wrong. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that you're wrong, is what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying. Again,
that is what you're saying.
No, it's not. You just want to view it in a certain way to which you can say I'm incorrect or I'm absurd.
I'm not saying you're wrong. You're the one saying I'm wrong.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying any explanation is more believable and more likely given what we know. I'm not saying that yours is impossible because I have no idea if it is. It might be the case. Actually, I don't even know if it might be the case because it might be not true, right? If it is the case, then obviously, the fire burned down the kitchen.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
But do I have reason to believe that if fire hasn't been demonstrated to exist? Absolutely fucking not. It's more reasonable for me to accept anything of any realm that's been demonstrated rather than a realm that hasn't been.
Yeah, even if the fire priest comes to your house and says, "By the way, there's this thing. It's hot. When you rub two sticks together, it lights on fire."
There, I would be, and right then, when the demonstration happens, I would have to accept that it's the case. Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's just what I'm asking you about the resurrection and about Fatima and about Guadalupe. So what like?
No, you're asking me. You're not.
I'm presenting you the only explanation that makes sense.
Demonstration. See, there we go. You're not presenting a demonstration.
Dude, does the fire priest have to make fire in front of you for you to believe him?
Yes.
Okay,
he has to demonstrate fire exists.
Then we're done. Okay, everyone, take that. That's the end of the thing. Unless you have something else you want to say, Infamous, I'll give you the last word. But That makes
Okay, fine.
no sense.
I mean, okay, you literally said 5 seconds ago the fire
Yeah.
priest comes to your house and shows you fire. Would you be able?
No,
to
no, no.
accept
Tells
that?
you
Yes,
about
and you were
fire.
fine
No, no,
with
no.
that.
Okay,
No,
sorry.
you said
You
no.
misunderstood.
You can go
I
back.
did not.
You can go back in the fucking
Okay,
recording.
we'll
and say
go
that you
back in
said
the
he makes
recording. I
fire
know what
from
I
you.
said, dude. I said because I even explained it. I said there's this thing. It's real hot. You rub two sticks together.
And then you
This
say
and
you
that.
run two sticks together. Yeah, I can demonstrate
I'm not saying
that it
he
works then
rubbed the
because I can
sticks
do
together.
it.
I'm saying he started telling. Never heard of it before. He starts explaining the properties of it, how it works, how it's made, where it comes from, and then you're just gonna say, "Well, you haven't demonstrated it to me, so I'm not gonna believe that." That's your take.
Well, I mean, either that or show me how to do it. You know, if you want me to
Oh,
fly
okay.
and then you give me the ability to fly and then I fly, you know.
Then my actual recommendation, given this analogy, would be to
What, prayer.
actually try some prayer. And I'm not
Yeah,
pushing
dude.
that, but I'm just saying if you are curious about whether prayer has an actual effect, has like a demonstrable sort of effect in the world, then I would ask you to try to do it.
Dude,
Anyway,
I went to a place called I went to a place called the Holy Family with a cathedral next to me. I've prayed. Like
well, that doesn't mean you prayed, but I understand.
I've
You
prayed. Like
all right, fair enough. Okay, so Infamous is referencing metaphysical possibility, and I'm referencing epistemological possibility. At least that's what Numenon thinks.
I don't
That's
know if
totally
that's
possible. I'm not sure.
true.
I don't really know what.
I think
I think
both
we are
reference
probably
those at
using
some
different
point.
terms for possibility because it's fun. Because actually, Infamous doesn't believe in possibility, so that's.
I don't
one
believe in
thing.
possible words. I don't believe in modality. Which
Okay.
I think is metaphysical possibility.
Yeah, that sounds like
Ep-
metaphysical
epistemological
possibility.
Possibility is different, but
Right. Okay, first of all, the accounts aren't as historical as you think they are. Jack, I'm going to say they're probably more historical than you think they are, but we could totally get into that if that's where the conversation goes. Fishy says, welcome, Fishy, to the chat. Welcome to have you. You are claiming to know. The other guy is not. Yeah, I know. That's the problem. He's not claiming to know anything, so he has no grounding
no,
for
I'm
his
claiming
beliefs.
to know certain things. It's ground up. It's not. It's ground up. It's not
Yep.
heaven down. Like
Okay, and that's his take on that. So you just we'll move on. Very unlikely Jesus would have been given his own tomb. Crucified Jesus were typically buried in mass graves. No, yeah, but we know. Okay, whatever.
no, I'd say that I actually disagree with that. I actually think that they
Okay.
probably, if the historical accounts are to be believed, on the Roman side, they absolutely viewed Jesus as a threat. They probably would have entombed him. But the less believable part is that anyone would have been able to get near the tomb. But you know, then you have the magic. So. You know.
Yep. Yep.
Also, interesting point that I heard the other day. It's almost for a fact that Jesus spoke Greek.
Wow.
Because he was able to
Interesting.
speak to the Roman soldiers, and the Roman soldiers didn't know Arabic.
Oh, yeah, they
So-
wouldn't know Aramaic or.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
interesting. I
Or
mean,
sorry,
I would.
Aramaic,
My pet theory is that he speaks every language, but.
I mean, he probably does, right? But
Yeah,
I mean, I imagine.
yeah.
That you'd
But
still
you know,
be
but yeah, I
certain
mean,
that
I'm sure
you-
he did speak Greek, and that would actually be good in
I mean,
terms of.
it gives credence to the Greek manuscripts.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it means that he was at least thinking that some of these metaphors and analogies and word usages would be translated to Greek and heard in Greek and all this stuff, and so that gives us better reason to believe that
We
it's
don't
like
know
an accurate passing
that
down.
Joseph, if it existed outside of the Gospels. I mean, we don't know a lot
Could
of
we
people
ask?
existed other
Yeah,
than
but
outside of the
so Jack, if you're saying the it's not as historical as you think, but then you're also throwing away the Gospels as historical artifacts, then you are the one
I
that
mean,
has
we
the
can.
problem.
I mean, yeah, I would agree there. Like, I mean, I think that each individual claim is what matters, right? Like,
Yeah.
like obviously, if we have like a claim that says like this happened at this place and this time, right? But it's written by
Yep.
Matthew, and we're like, okay, well, Matthew didn't write Matthew. It's like, okay, but that doesn't matter to the claim. Like,
Right.
even if it was written by fucking someone named
By Johnny, Dirty Johnny,
Yeah.
then we're
Yeah,
talking about
he
what
still could
actually
be
the
correct
history
or
is.
not.
Yeah. Okay, Numenon does want us to ask ChatGPT for coherence, how coherence is determined by the belief system, as well as what.
Sure, I can because they're biased sources. You can want.
Yeah, but just because they're
I'm
biased doesn't mean they're
confused
not
at what he said.
first century sources.
Right, but what is he saying he can do? He's saying he
Um,
can throw out the gospel.
and I'm
so you
not
can throw out the
saying-
gospel because they're biased sources.
I don't think
mean,
you
I
can.
think you
Well,
can
then,
maybe determine
then you
that,
might
but,
as well
like,
throw out all of history. Literally, I mean, this is literally the most famous phrase that you learn about history is that history is written by the victor. People write history, so of course it's biased. So if you want to throw out the Gospels, you can go ahead and throw out the travails of Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar. You can throw out George Washington if you want. Like what does unbiased mean in terms of a person writing down history, especially in the ancient world?
You can pretty much throw away all the Holocaust evidence. Because
You could throw away all the Holocaust evidence because that's obviously biased because people wrote it.
I'm talking about Nazis. Like all the Nazis have history books.
Yep, they have their history books. What? So we just won't.
Supernatural elements of the history. I mean, sure, until it's been demonstrated.
I can throw out all the supernatural elements of history, sure. And it's just hilarious how you guys don't see your bias when you say that. It's crazy, but anyway.
Well, I mean, until it's been demonstrated. If it's been demonstrated, we can revisit it. Like, that's not bias. Like,
what's up?
Obviously, I'm going to throw out, like, for the Greek
it's still bias.
Mythologies, for the Greek mythologies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a bias to good science, sure, or to good fucking history, right? But, like, for the mythologies are called mythologies because they're pretty much all supernatural and metaphor. Right, so the minute we have like a supernatural claim in like a book, for instance, that isn't like a modern religion, or we have magic, we call it a mythology and throw it away as historical fact.
I mean, that's
just what we do.
Not the definition of mythology, but that's fine. A mythology is not a history that has supernatural elements. That's literally that's very.
I'm not saying
far
that a
from what
mythology is that. I'm saying that we do that with mythologies. I'm not saying it's different.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Wilson Joy, you're my favorite chatter so far. In the Twitch chat, he says, "Hi, you look fantastic, dude." I've never heard that before, so I appreciate you.
Bro's definitely a bot.
Yeah, 100% a bot. Welcome to the chat, brother. Okay, so we are gonna do this little ChatGPT
I also
experiment.
thought that Pythagoras performed miracles or Alexander was a demigod.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's your bias. So that's your bias. I also don't believe that. That's my bias. I'm just asking you to acknowledge that you have an anti-supernaturalistic bias. Therefore, you cannot accept explanations that have supernatural elements, even if they are the best explanation. That's what I'm pointing out to you.
But that's the thing. Is that
so should we just accept supernatural claims in history just because? No, accept them with evidence. That's what I'm telling you this whole time. Evidence, 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 evidence. It's just like you guys don't seem, I'm not saying you guys, Jack at least in this, with this specific comment, does not seem to know what evidence is. Okay, to be fair, tossing out all non-natural elements from a worldview seems problematic. For example, wouldn't that get us stuck in the problems of David Hume? Yes.
Throwing out
and all of the horror of the 20th century. As I can't observe many things like the future based on sense data. Good point.
Right, but the demonstration of the future is the future.
Is what?
Or well, sorry, the demonstration of the future is the present.
Oh, how so?
I actually don't think we meet that problem. Like that's the thing is that like how do I know a second later than when I say the sentence exists? Demonstrated.
No, you haven't demonstrated the future. You've just demonstrated the present.
No, I did.
How?
Yeah, which was previously the future.
Well, you're just saying that. You're asserting that, but you haven't demonstrated. I haven't seen that. You haven't demonstrated that.
1 second from now. There you go.
But how do I know I'm not being tricked every millisecond about the future?
Oh, you're talking about like a.
I mean, this. I don't want to get back into solipsism, but I'm just saying you haven't demonstrated satisfactorily that the future exists. I mean, you just trust that it does.
If we're talking about
you have faith that the
like
future exists because of your experience.
Well, no, I don't have faith that it definitely 100% exists.
Well, yeah, even you don't. Yeah, so radical I don't knowers, which maybe because I hate how the word atheist has just like somehow been morphed into the word agnostic. Maybe I should just call you guys I don't knowers. Okay, so Fishy, how do we know that history from over 1,000 years ago is still accurate? It could just be a massive game of telephone, especially with how often history gets erased and edited. So that is a good question, Fishy. And the important thing about history is not the distance between now and when the historical fact or event happened. It's the difference in time between when the historical event happened and when it was written down and observed. So like when we do history now, we don't play telephone. We go back and see how much telephone could there have been between this event and the historian who recorded it, which is going to be, say, like Josephus or, any of the Tertullian or any of the historians in history. We do this with everybody. And we also do it with the Gospels. And we're also fortunate that the Gospels happen very quickly after the event they're recording. So, well, what standard would you use? You prefer they were even quicker?
One of them does.
Well, one of them that you're thinking of does, but how about the Acts of the Apostles? That's when you get really close, really close.
I mean, the Acts of the Apostles aren't documented anywhere else.
Or the letters of Paul, rather, actually would be even closer. Because the Acts of the Apostles was written by Luke, so that's even later than, it's probably written around the same time as the Gospel of Luke. But the letters of Paul to the churches, some of these are dated within like 5 years of the crucifixion. It's crazy. So I don't know how you square that. I don't know how that's not history.
I mean,
In other words,
I
especially a
haven't
letter.
dated that
It's not like he's writing something to be a theological text. He's just saying, hey, you guys should do this. This is the right belief. This is what actually happened. This and this and this, you know. Okay, so, dude, I'm an attorney in Florida. You can look me up on the Florida bar at Lamau. Funny you say I don't know what evidence is. Yeah, super cool, dude. I'm glad you're an attorney in Florida.
Where did he say this?
I'm just saying the comment you made displays that you don't know what historical evidence is. I'm sure you're great at suing people in Florida
Where did he
using
say this?
evidence.
Did
Like, I
just
don't
not
care
read
about
this right?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, on the YouTube chat. Jack Tavani. Okay, so to finish off Fishy's point, yeah, it doesn't matter how long ago the thing happened. The key difference is how long between it was recorded and when the event happened. That's what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, it's both, realistically.
Numenon says the present does not demonstrate the future. You just demonstrated memory. Good point.
Yeah, no, you're right. I didn't know how deep we were going with that demonstration.
Right,
Like,
right.
obviously, if we're talking about the like metaphysical demonstrations of like how consciousness moves through anything, then like
Jack says in reference to my comment that you guys are I don't knowers. He doesn't like that. He says you can just call us skeptics. You can just call us skeptics. Yeah, I
mean,
will.
it's true.
I will.
True.
I don't think it's a virtue to be skeptical though per se. So not ultimately.
I think it's a virtue to be. I think it's
It's a virtue to have skepticism, but to define yourself as a skeptic, I can't think of anything more.
Well,
like,
I mean, to be skeptical is to be a skeptic. I feel like Jesus definitely would have been like respectful of skeptics and shit. I mean, doubting Thomas was a skeptic.
I mean, he was extremely skeptical of like the Pharisees and all this. So yes, being skeptical is not wrong.
What if I'm
Making
being
your whole
skeptical of
thing
sin?
being a skeptic typically means you're skeptical of like everything, and I know that's not what it means
Well, no,
for
it's
you.
talking
but-
about like it's talking about like the topic we're skeptical of. Like, so for instance, if I say I'm a skeptic and I'm in this conversation with you,
Sure,
obviously when I go-
you're a
when I go
skeptic
to the
of
restaurant,
Christianity.
I'm not like, I don't think that this is actually a garam masala. Like,
Right. Although,
Like-
but actually, the foundation of your worldview does think that. So if you were living out your worldview to its fullest extent, then you actually would not believe that garam masala is in front of you.
what are you talking about?
No,
I'm
or
not
no?
a hard, I'm not a hard solipsist. Why would I think it's not in front of me?
Well, just anything. But there's brute facts. There's not necessarily the future. There's all. Oh, I guess you do believe that there is the future
If I
in your
believe in brute
worldview. You
facts,
just
then I
don't
believe those.
ground it in anything.
No, I ground them in the absolutes. I just don't know if
Oh.
there's anything past that.
I see what you're saying. So that's kind of
Like,
what
I
I'm saying.
ground
That's
them,
where
I just
then that's
can't
where
go
the
further.
worldview
It's like-
breaks apart, in my view. But
It doesn't break apart. This is the thing that like
Mhm.
this genuinely angers me because
Okay, go for it.
It's what every creationist says. It's what every like
Uh-huh.
apologist says, where it's just like your worldview has to be perfect or it's absurd.
Well,
I hate to tell you,
if
but
it's
we're
not
going
perfect,
from
it's just not
ground up-
perfect.
We're going from the ground up here.
Right, but you have no
Our
ground.
our brains.
You have no
We
ground.
do have ground. Our ground is being born into the world with the senses we have.
Oh, so it's subjective.
That's where we start.
So it's
That's
subjective.
where we start.
If you're
My
starting from the
worldview is
subjective.
my worldview is absolutely subjective.
Okay, good. As long as you admit that the foundation, the grounding of your worldview is subjective. Therefore, any argument you make with
No, it's
force,
not the
I can make with
grounding of my
equal force
worldview,
from the
it's
opposite
what
subjective
happens.
position.
It's not a grounding of my worldview. The ground
so what
on
is the
which
grounding?
I stand on is, brother. This is what I'm talking about.
Well, you won't answer any questions.
That's
You
what-
keep saying
brother,
stuff and not
I'm about
answering
to because I'm
questions. Okay.
explaining, and then you
Go,
just be
go,
like,
go.
Hey,
All right,
what about
continue.
this? What about this? What about this?
No,
Like,
this is the
whataboutism.
same topic. Just
It's
tell me.
whataboutism.
Just be clear with your answer. What is the grounding for your worldview?
The grounding for my worldview right now, as I stand, are the logical absolutes, because I'm able to comprehend them. When I'm a child, when I'm a baby, I'm not able to comprehend them. My worldview isn't even
Okay.
formed. But I have to deal with the reality I exist in, because I do experience this. No matter what your opinion is, I experience this. That's just a brute fact. For there be a mind, there has to be an experience. Otherwise, the mind can't recognize itself. So that's the way I have to construct myself.
Okay.
It's ground up. It's not I
Yeah.
knew the absolutes when I was a fucking child. It's
No.
I had to discover these things, name them, title them, and then figure out what happened. That's where it is. It's not
Cool.
that we were born into this world knowing all this shit. You weren't born into this world knowing any of the stuff you know
No.
currently.
No,
Let's
not
not
at all.
pretend like we do.
No, not at all. Yeah, completely agree. I'm just talking
Yeah,
about
cool.
epistemologically, just metaphysically. What is the ground?
Epistemologically, I deal with the logical absolutes, and I have no idea if they
Oh.
go any further. We have to do some investigation into that because we're not absolute knowledge-knowing machines.
Okay.
Because you can just be like, magic.
I just don't see how
doesn't
you could
mean
trust
you're
them.
Special.
I mean, your thing is magic too.
Okay.
Because you just say they
no,
exist.
my thing isn't magic.
They just-
I can
yeah, well,
say
then how
that
did they
I can
come into being?
demonstrate them.
How did they come into being?
I don't know. How did your thing come into being?
It didn't.
Let me guess.
I have an
It
answer. You don't
didn't.
have an
Ah,
answer.
there you
yeah.
go.
There you go. Yeah. But that's an answer. That's not I don't know.
Okay.
That's an answer.
Prove to me it didn't. Prove to me it didn't.
Well, I guess we'd have to do the philosophical proof. I believe in an uncaused cost. I believe everything must be caused
Demonstrate
by
that's
something
possible,
before it.
metaphysically.
I don't think I can do that. Maybe there is
There
a
you
way
go.
to do it. I'm just
no,
not
your
smart enough.
foundation for your worldview is absolute dog shit.
No, it's not. It's still coherent.
Yeah, it is. No, it's
No, it's
terrible.
internally
it's
coherent.
incoherent because you can't explain it.
I feel more annoyed by other tactics that you use than what you just used on me. But maybe that's just because that is my tactic or whatever. I don't know.
Like, brother, it's just like if you can call it absurd, but it doesn't mean it's absurd. You have to demonstrate that.
Yeah, but what if it actually
Mine
is?
is just foundation. What if it is? I don't know.
Yeah, I just think.
All I know is that once we get back to the exact same thing where we take it a step further and you're just like, I can justify the logical absolutes. It's magic. It's like, okay, where'd the magic
well,
come
but
from? It's like,
your
don't
justification
know.
is magic. It just is magic without an answer. My justification is a coherent
Mine
magic.
isn't that it's magic without an answer. Mine is that I know that these things exist because I have to use them to do anything.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, but that justification is God. Okay, well, do you have to use that every single day to justify them? Well, it's like, well, no, but
yeah.
I need a justification for them. 100%, I need a justification for them. It's like,
well,
okay,
if
so
you
you're
want to
just
have
calling
a
the justification for them God.
if you're
How
happy
do you
to
know
have
it's
an
one justification
incoherent
instead of two?
worldview, if you're happy to have an incoherent worldview,
Well, I mean,
then that's
that's
fine.
the thing is that
I
you
mean, that's
can't
just totally
justify
fine.
the God thing. You
I don't have to
justify the
just.
God thing,
It's not
that's
about
the thing.
justifying. It's about having a worldview
It's
that
not
is
about justifying it.
well, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But in this specific sentence I'm talking right now, it's not about justifying the worldview. It's about having a coherent worldview. Yours
If you
is
can't
not
justify
coherent.
the foundation, it's not coherent, brother. Like,
Okay, good. So then you don't have a coherent worldview then, by your admission.
no, I can justify the foundations. I just can't go further. I
What's
need,
that?
I need a
What's that?
justification.
Oh well, I can
The
justify
logical
those.
absolutes.
Those I can justify just as easily as you. I'm saying I can even
Well,
justify
no, because
the
I
one
don't
step
even know if they
beyond
need
those.
justification. That's the thing. They could just be proof facts. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean that's weird. I actually don't think they could be because then you just wouldn't be able to trust them. But
Why not?
well,
I need to
because
use them
they
to
could be.
trust anything.
Yeah, that would be a major problem.
You mean I need?
If you
I need
couldn't
each one
trust
of
the
them to
if
do
you
anything.
couldn't trust the thing that you use to trust everything, that would be a major problem.
But I can because I can trust with them. With them. What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, how do you trust them? How do you know?
Because to distrust anything, I'd need to use them.
Okay. But so how do you know that? So can you distrust them or no?
To do so, I would need to use them.
Right. And they might
So
be
they're
invalid.
they're self-fulfilling.
Well, they could also be self-destruct.
Can they be? I don't necessarily think they could be.
Okay. Fair enough.
In fact, I think you'd have to say that they can't be because you think God justifies them, unless you think God justifies lies.
No. I mean, I was trying to work in your worldview. Yeah, I believe they're totally justified. Make total sense. It actually.
Yeah, but they justify each other. We've actually been through this before. They literally.
I don't think they
justify each
simply
other. Doubt
justify
them.
each other.
To,
They
to
don't.
to doubt them, they would need to be used.
Yes, I agree with that. But so to the question of, did they pop in? Were they created by something?
I have
or
no
did they pop
idea.
into existence? No, I'm just saying to that question. I have an answer. To that question, you do not have an answer. Is that
But
fair?
you have no justification for the answer.
Fine. Then
So it's just you're in the exact same state as me, buddy.
no.
In fact, a worse one because you've added an unnecessary step that you can't
No,
justify.
it's not unnecessary. It justifies the
You're
step
in the same.
below.
You're in the exact same place that the people who were like lightning is made by Zeus. Well, it's like, oh well, you don't know where lightning comes from.
Well,
so
are you saying? Wait, are you
your-
saying
your
I don't
worldview
have
is
a
incoherent.
justification that you will accept? I have a justification for the existence of God.
What's-
It's just
what's
one
the
that you won't
justification?
accept. Oh, the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Okay, how do you trust that?
From
'cause
historical
before-
evidence,
because
from my
before addressing
relationship
that-
with
Right,
God,
but
he
right,
tells
but
me that
before
it's true.
getting that, you would need to use the logical absolutes.
Well, personally, I didn't really know about them until after I started.
I mean, you
this
didn't know
journey,
about
so-
them, but you'd have to use them.
Oh yeah, certainly, yeah.
Right. So that worldview preceded this one, correct?
No.
Yes, because you
Well,
have
in
to
order
use them
to in
get
order
that.
to use the logical absolutes, God had to give them to me. So that's what really preceded it.
So you think God
Yeah.
gave you the logical absolutes?
I think he gave them to creation. Yeah.
All right, but you didn't believe that at one point. It wasn't your worldview.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay. What's the problem?
What do you mean? What's the problem? I'm saying that the logical absolutes are necessary for you to function. At
Yeah.
one point in time, you just arbitrarily went.
Yeah.
"Oh, I think God justifies them.
Well, yeah,
You
but I
can't
don't
do
think
that with
it's
the
not
logical
arbitrary.
absolutes. The logical
not-
absolutes are self-done when you do them. When you act on anything, the
It's
logical
not
absolutes
at
are
all
there.
arbitrary, and I never said you
There
can't
wasn't a
use things you
moment
don't
in
know the
time-
justification for. Obviously,
There
you
wasn't a
use
moment
logic.
in time where you didn't use all of the logical absolutes. There wasn't
No,
a
there was
moment in
no,
time.
of course. What? But how is that relevant? I don't
Exactly, but
understand
there
the
was
relevance
a
of
moment
that.
in time where you arbitrarily went, God justifies them.
There was a moment in time where I arbitrarily went, I don't need a justification for these things, even though that was happening subconsciously. But when I realized that things have
It's
causes,
not saying that you don't need one. It's saying that you don't have one.
yeah, but you're saying you don't need one. You're saying it's not important. You
No,
can just,
no,
you can
I'm
just...
not. I'm saying I don't have one.
Okay, great.
And I
But
don't even know if
and
they
you
need
also
one.
don't want one because there's only one
No,
available
I didn't
option
say I
that
don't
actually
want one. I said that I don't
grounds
have
them.
one. I can't
Okay,
be more
but
clear than that.
you've also been presented with something that grounds them, which would be a justification for them,
I'm
and you
being
rejected
presented
it.
with something
So-
that someone claims grounds them, but they have
Yes.
no justification for it.
Right. And so you're happy to have, well, look, if you won't accept all the
For instance,
other
what about Islam?
explanations,
What about
then-
Islam? Does that ground them?
No, absolutely not.
No, it doesn't. Okay, well there you go. You're denying the Islam worldview. That
Yes,
grounds
I
them.
am.
You can argue with an.
Yes, I am.
You can argue with a Muslim.
I would love to.
I don't think any
There's
of
great
you were
arguments we
justified
could have.
in adding it. I don't think
I
any
know.
of you
I
were
know what
justified
you
in adding
believe. So let's go to the chat. All right. We got some
it.
Thomas
Oh, you're in
action.
philosophy class, Fishy? That's cool.
You can just call us all skeptics. The mere fact that there are supernatural elements in the Gospels that get more and more elaborate as more Gospels get written should indicate that there is embellishment going on. False. They don't get
There's
more
probably
elaborate.
a little bit of embellishment in it. I think they went on to honor.
I'm not
Christ
saying
a
there's
little
no
bit.
embellishment, but they don't get more and more embellished as they go on. You actually see similar claims in the same
I
ones.
think they get less embellished, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
Historically, maybe
Yeah.
more, but like in terms of like the actual story, if we're taking it literally, yeah, they get less embellished.
Well, also, just each gospel is written by its own individual like author with his own individual purpose, so they all have different styles. So one is going to be
I
a
don't
little
know about that.
more focused on the miracles. One's going to be less focused. You don't think that's true?
Well, I just don't know if they were all written by one person.
I don't think anybody would say that they were written by one person. Not even Bart Ehrman.
No, I meant like Matthew wasn't written by Matthew, or etc.
I would say the most skeptical, critical, scholarly position is that Matthew and Mark were both pulled from one singular source called Q, but that Luke was written by Luke and that John was written by John.
I have heard of Q, and I know a guy that goes through it. He's actually a Christian, but he hates apologists and he helps like atheists and shit. He's like, this is wrong.
Okay. I mean, apologists do a lot of fallacious arguing, myself included. Not on purpose, obviously.
I'm not saying anything
like,
against y'all. I'm not
Yeah.
saying anything against y'all. I just find it funny. Like,
Yeah.
here's on like Aaron Raw's channel. I'm like, well, why are you on Aaron Raw's channel? He's just as bad, dude.
yeah, exactly. It's weird that he chose to fight for the other side, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so Jack Devani, he didn't condemn Thomas in my view, and skepticism is required within Christianity. Yeah, we're commanded to give reasons for our faith, and I also believe that Thomas was not condemned, that there's some more nuanced thing happening there. Like doubting beliefs is how you recognize the true God from the false ones. That's my view, at least. Yeah, I agree.
I think doubting Thomas was.
Jack
first to
Devani said
realize
he said
that
the
people
ones
were
who
more
didn't
lucky
see
than
are
others.
more blessed. Did he say more blessed, Jack? Or should we go to the verse? Because the way I remember the verse is he said, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." Did he say more blessed? No, I don't think he did.
I think
He
he
said, "Blessed are you, Thomas."
That they're more lucky,
I mean, yeah, you can
and I think you would
take
agree.
that out
Right,
of
in
it.
reality, they take less to believe, so they're saved more easy.
Yeah, I just think they have less like internal sort of like struggle over this stuff. If you can just like believe without reasons, I don't think you
Yeah,
should
and
believe.
I
I don't think
think
there's
it means
anything
metaphorically blessed.
noble.
I think it means, like-
I think there's a reason we're commanded to have reasons for our faith. So there's nothing noble
I
about
think
blind faith. Absolutely.
I think he's right here, though. Like, I think Jack's right. Like, I mean, I don't think that the quote is exact. I think maybe there's a version of the Bible that says it. But like, I definitely think that they'd be more blessed. I don't think they're talking about blessed in like a magical sense or like a metaphysical sense. I think he means like literally, like they're lucky.
Oh, like they're just like lucky that they don't have to. Yeah, maybe. maybe. Shoot, now I have to think about which. Okay, well, first, because I was already on ChatGPT, we'll do this.
I think therefore I am is the grounding of skeptics. Hey, fishy.
Good point, Fishy. Good. That's some nice philosophy. I'm glad you're in a philosophy class. That is an interesting concept, and I'm glad you're in our channel to be able to contribute what you've been learning and maybe even pick some tips up here. I did earlier. I'll do it again just in case anyone wants. Oh, lol! I just posted my ChatGPT question. Okay. Instagram. Not Instagram. Discord. Okay, I'm writing a paper for philosophy class on if you could explain the universe without the existence of a god and was interested in hearing a Christian perspective. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, my answer is no, Fishy. I don't believe you can. And that comes from the Bible, obviously. Scripturally, we're told that there was a beginning. So there's that. But I'm going to say on a couple different facets as well. There's not the universe. The most probable explanation for our universe that we currently live in is God, because I believe it's necessary for there to be a single uncaused cause that starts off the chain of all causes and effects. And so what do we typically call that uncaused cause? Who's able to create time and space and matter and all these things. I'm going to say, do your own philosophical research, find the people that I'm drawing this opinion from. I'm just giving you the really broad strokes on how this like sort of argumentation works. Because if there's an infinite past or some kind of infinite weird multiverse or time exists on this loop, to me, that seems like jumping out of a hole that has no bottom. So how do you jump out of a hole that has no bottom? Infamous disagrees. That's fine. Maybe I'll even let him say something on that real quick if he wants to.
I just still don't get it. Like I don't understand. Like if I'm on an infinite plane, like
I would just say, how did you get there?
Okay, yeah, but that's not the equivalent of the question.
Well,
like we're talking about moving through an infinite space. Like
where did you come from though? Don't you have progenitors? Don't you have like
right? But I'm saying,
parents
if like the world is eternal, like the universe is eternal, right? Or the macrocosm we exist in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So what was
if that's the case, right? If that's the case, then like what's the problem? Because like the whole jumping through a hole with no bottom thing is like, okay, we're in time, we're moving through time. It's like, okay,
yeah.
We're in a like.
So how did that get?
We're in a
started?
space. We're in a. It's eternal, right? Same answer you give for fucking God.
Yeah, but God doesn't move anywhere. God is unmoving. So.
Okay, but I'm not saying that the eternal thing moves. I'm saying that first of all, he definitely does actions, so he definitely moves.
He moves in our realm. I'm just saying, in the way that he's eternal, like he's unchanging. So like we've talked about this, but there's different like ways to talk about God. There's different levels you can talk about him at, right?
In either case, we're just talking about God now. I'm talking about reality.
All right, fair enough.
The thing about reality is like it seems that when we're talking about like the whole bottom empty thing, like if I put myself on a flat plane that's infinite directions in every direction, I can still move in it. So like if time is eternal and it just affects anything in the given place, if place is even a concept for it, again, I don't know. But like we're talking about the specific paradox of like moving in an infinite, which I think also applies to God, which I find weird.
Well, he doesn't. Again, he doesn't move in an infinite. He just simply is.
Right,
the
but
infinity.
he takes actions while he's being eternal. That's.
Yeah. And Aquinas does deal with that. We could get into that.
Well, if he deals with it, I don't see why it wouldn't extend to the same properties, but applying them to the universe.
Because it just doesn't apply to physical and material things.
I mean, if it doesn't, then at that point, I'm not sure how this becomes a contradiction for.
Well, you said the paradox. I mean, it is a paradox. Like infinity, physical material infinities present. I mean, a plethora of paradoxes, which you're familiar with. Well, do you want to? Why? There's the Hilbert Hotel experiment. So, like for instance, if there's the point of the Hilbert Hotel thing is, if a material infinity exists, this could actually happen. So I don't believe Hilbert Hotel can actually exist. Therefore, infinity can't exist. Oh, the Hilbert Hotel. So, yeah, now I have to do some math. So,
is it just the one where like they move up the room?
Yeah, if you imagine a hotel room with a hotel with infinite rooms that can house infinite guests, and you subtract you do all sorts of math, right? You can do all sorts of different mathematical equations with these rooms by like checking people out and checking them in. So that's adding and subtraction, right? So if you subtract all the infinity of patients, so infinity minus infinity, and you start at room 6, but you let people from room 1 to 6 stay in their rooms, then infinity minus infinity equals 6. But if you just start from room 3, then infinity minus infinity equals 3. So you have this problem.
Right, there's some arbitrary. Yeah, but that's just an arbitrary selection.
Yeah, it is arbitrary, but that you can get two different answers from the same equation.
Well, no, because you're talking about like a stage of infinity. Like actually, I do know what this is. So you're talking about set theory at this point.
Yeah.
Where if you take a infinity and another infinity, but you go up 6, you get the same answer. But that's because of the endlessness of infinity. But we're setting a beginning, so there's a beginning to this infinity.
I see
right?
what you're saying.
So that's
Yeah.
So like for
but
instance,
it's still infinite, right?
Exact same thing.
It's still infinite.
Well, no,
because
right? There's a difference between infinity in both directions. So like infinite negative numbers, infinite positive numbers, right? There's no way to do that. You're being shadow banned from my sub box. Oh, it's Henry. Never mind. So like if you have infinite negative and infinite positive, that's going to be a bigger set than infinite positive numbers. In the same way that's going to be bigger than the infinite set of infinite negative numbers.
Yeah, sure.
But the infinite negative numbers and infinite positive numbers are the same infinity, right? So you can think about it as sets of infinity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This is a set of infinity where the paradox can happen, but an eternity in both directions doesn't have that paradox.
Okay.
So like for instance,
so that's just one. That's just one example of a paradox. But that already sounds weird already. That infinity doesn't equal infinity. So that's already
because it's not numerical.
Problematic. No, I know. But that's why I don't think it's real, because it's not numerical. Because you can count anything that's real. That's nature.
What do you think?
Right, yeah, but I don't think God is countable.
Right, but you think he's real.
Okay, sorry, not real. Infinity I don't think that's material. I don't think that's material.
Right, but it doesn't matter about the material. You can make the exact same. Paradox if we have a start of the infinity, which you don't think exists, so it doesn't apply to God. Again, it just applies to the universe. Doesn't apply to the universe. But like, let's say that you do this with God, and instead of persons, it's actions. There you go. You have the exact same thing.
What? I didn't understand that.
Like, here, instead of material things, you have him interacting in some way or doing some sort of process. Right, it's still a item within the infinity that we can then like say, okay, what if we take away? It'd be weird, but like, what if we take away infinity from this? Then like you get the same thing. You have like 6 of God, or like 3 of God, 3 actions of God, 6 actions of God. Well, it doesn't. Again, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't really follow that. I don't think. I don't think even God can.
Directions.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work, right? So like that's what I'm just saying, right? If you have also, what does God having infinite mean? Infinite things in His mind, infinite as He is everywhere. I mean, I fucking hate infinity, dude. But like
exactly, I know you hate it because it doesn't. It is mind bending, and maybe it's real. Maybe there's a material infinity. I mean, yada yada yada. It just doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think at this point,
Dragon Joker.
Welcome, Henry. Welcome. Hold on. We'll let Infamous finish up this point, and then we'll get into your explanation of infinity, Henry. I'm excited for that.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I think that like the paradox doesn't apply to space.
Okay.
Or time.
That's fair. That's fair. So back to Fishy's point, just real quick, I don't believe that a material set or a material infinity can exist. Therefore, there must be a beginning. Therefore, there must be a beginner. Yada yada yada. That's one thing you could look into for your paper. The cosmological argument is what it's usually called. Okay, I am not yo, what's up? What's up?
Do you remember when I came to you because I had like a panic attack? Because I was
do.
Like,
yeah.
My logic, and you explained it to me, and I felt that you didn't explain it poorly. I think your logic was okay, but I still struggle with it.
Yeah.
Is an Infamous, you can chime in on this. I think my logic was like, if you go to heaven, there's must be a point where like you say to God, like, yo, what am I gonna live forever? This is exhausting, Like I've seen I get it, I want you to make me forget that I ever lived, Just make me forget, and I can go back and be whatever. And to me, that's what death is,
Right.
It feels like to me, in a way, it's like death actually surmises it would make sense to me that it's the end. It makes
Yeah.
more sense to me that it's the end.
Yeah, and my
Still, I
answer to
mean,
that
in
is
your
because you are a
explanation of
finite
what
being.
God would be and heaven would be was fine, but it
Mhm.
still does make more sense to me that death is just the end, because I still kind of think that, like, I don't know, like your thing with like there's no boredom in heaven. I feel like
Yeah,
I don't know.
because
There must be. I feel like there is an end. You know,
um,
even in heaven.
yeah, I
And to
mean, fair
me,
enough. And to be fair,
we have a bot in the server. We have a bot in the server.
in the server,
do it.
how
Yeah,
so?
one of them just DM'd me for a bunch of
For a bunch of money,
banners and
you better pay
a
him.
bunch of banners and 3D logos and shit.
Oh, okay, classic. That's actually the first one. That's pretty. That's pretty good. We went this long without him. Yeah, ban his ass. Okay, nice. We got Top G in the chat, dropping Matthew 19:26. Welcome, Cobra Tate. No, I'm kidding. It means that God contains infinite possibilities. Yeah, sure. I also think most notions of heaven
Infinite
include how we'll have different psychologies. Yeah, so that's what I think that was my answer to you last time, Henry. But I think we're gonna have a completely different psychology in heaven. Like there will be no such thing as boredom in the same way there's no such thing as sin. I mean, in the
But
same.
at that point, are you even yourself?
That's a question for you, I guess. I mean,
Didn't you kind of explain
You're a
that
better
not
version of
You're
yourself.
like the energy or whatever.
yeah. Well, then I also think so. To be clear, like we're told that the way comic Brandon is back. Look at that, dude. This is like a reunion episode. What the hell? Okay, so I think another way I explained it was like I don't think time is gonna feel relevant. Like you're not gonna be sitting around for an infinity of years and be like, oh, you know, 1,000,000 years have passed. Now I'm ready to not exist or whatever. Like I don't even think you're gonna recognize time as something
You think
linear,
he's okay with
passing.
euthanasia?
With what?
I think God is okay with euthanasia.
Euthanasia, you said?
Yeah,
That
For
I'm gonna.
dogs or humans?
I mean both.
Good
I don't
question.
think he gives a fuck about dogs, but
Wait, let's go to Matthew 19:26.
fuck. If I get to heaven, right, somehow, or I at least meet God, I have a question. I'll be like, how the fuck did you not give dogs souls?
I think
Fuck yourself.
might have. I mean, you might just get up there and find your dog.
We don't know that he did.
Apparently, all dogs go to
Dogs,
heaven.
the only animals with souls.
Also, I had a thing recently. I was trying to make it a bit where it's like, and it's real. I saw a thing on Instagram where it's like kill shelters, and they're just like posting a video of a dog, and they're like, this dog is going to die today at 2 p.m. You know, unless he gets adopted. And it's like
Jeez.
really fucked up, but it's
Yeah, that's
also a
kinda
really
messed
good
up.
way to get the dogs adopted, you know? Like
That's pretty funny.
I was like, can I think of a better way to get these dogs out quickly? And I
That
couldn't.
is
It's
very
fucked up,
funny,
but it's
actually.
really worth it. Makes sense.
That's hysterical. That is a really effective marketing strategy, but also like imagine being the social media intern that has to make that post.
Killing dogs.
It's horrible, but it's also like, do you guys have better ideas? I'm open to hearing them.
No, that's how you would get that dog adopted for sure. Other than, no. So to the euthanasia question, it's like, unless nobody has shown me scripture or tradition related to that, and so I just want to throw out the disclaimer that my mind, I could be wrong here. My mind could be easily changed here. I just hadn't really thought about this. I think probably there's a context for it that makes sense. Like,
I mean, I'm going to New York to assist in a euthanasia sort of like suicide.
are you?
I'm going to assist in it. Though what I will say is that it's a surprise party. The
Are you
person
bringing?
that we're doing it has no idea.
It's a surprise party for your grandma. Yeah, that might be an assisted.
Charger. Unplugs her.
Yeah, exactly. That's a Henry move. Unplug the pacemaker for his iPhone charger. Okay. Newman says the problem of the self only works if you think that a person is his conscious experiences. True. I'm not sure what yeah, that's a tough one to get into. Comic Brandon says no sleeping all day, no getting my dick licked. We love having you back, Comic Brandon. Maybe I'm the only one excited for it because I live outside, impoverished. I'm sorry, Brandon.
She isn't called the Virgin Mary.
Oh, that message. I didn't see the dick lick message.
Yeah, Brandon's getting lewd in the chat. Well, Brandon, I hope you get the help you need, brother. I really do. I missed you. I missed you on this. People, for the newcomers, Brandon is the heel. He was our first heel, the original heel. We got a few.
I had like a
Sometimes it feels like my whole
I just-
chat is
I-
heel.
I just
got
looked
pissed
up
today.
okay, I just looked up the standard for euthanasia in the Catholic Church specifically, and this makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah. What do they say?
Church.
Yeah.
So specifically, suffering is meant to be a spiritually meaningful thing.
Right.
Romans
Mhm.
5,
Their whole thing.
5:3-5. And so moral precedent would be you can't kill them, but you can certainly let them die. So unplugging him isn't killing him; he just was gonna die.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, that's
that's
kind
In
of
fact, you're
that.
actually prolonging their death. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking the context would be. Then another context I was thinking that, like, is God going to be upset? And that's
so
obviously
I can't
not
inject
correct.
him.
But is
right?
it
I can't
sinful, like,
inject
if
him with
you're...
poison,
Right,
but I
right.
can let him die if he's on life support.
Yeah, I mean, I generally, I guess, agree with that position. I think there is a significant difference between unplugging and injecting with poison, for sure.
Yeah, so they're
I'm
okay.
afraid
Like, if you had like a
dying.
chronic condition where you just experience pain constantly, like you were stabbed by the gimpy tree in Australia,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're just a neurotoxin is in your fucking face constantly, and you're just like, I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna die. You're like, no, you have to suffer. Like,
I think it would be better to suffer and live than to just end it all. But yeah, I mean, I understand your emotional attraction to wanting to, like,
I
allow
wouldn't kill
people
him
to,
there, but like,
yeah.
I wouldn't kill him there. I'm gonna be very real. I wouldn't do that. I mean, I would personally be like, okay, let's just like figure out a way to help you because you have a healthy life beyond the pain, right? But,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
an old person who's like 98 and
Mhm.
looks like they've had COPD for 80 years,
Mm-hmm.
like, and then like they're like, I am in constant pain, and we're like, okay, all of his organs are shutting down, but like they're gonna stay alive for the next 20, like not 20 years, but like the next 10 years, they're gonna stay alive. They're gonna be in constant pain. I'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what kind of life is that?
Yeah. I think it's up to the
That's his
person at the end of
choice,
the day.
like-
I do think God was going to prefer life over death, but again, I think this could be different based on different context. Okay.
So from what I've seen, like it seems that there's more precedent for like if they're going to live without
Mhm.
aid, you have
Yeah.
to let them live.
Yes.
Because then
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
up to them whether or not they take their own life, and if they do, then it's a sin. But
Right. That would be a sin. Yeah. Yeah. And I would never encourage anyone to take their own life. Really. That's just so dark.
What if they wanted to?
Well, that's the only people that do that are the ones that want to. So,
whether if I'm in,
especially if they
like,
want to.
well, unless they're coerced into doing it, but like,
Oh well,
also-
then that's murder, really. But yeah.
I saw
I
a
mean-
doctor recently because I thought I felt a lump on one of my balls, and I did. There was nothing there. The one thing I did is for some reason, I scheduled an appointment with a male doctor, and like the night before, I realized like, why didn't I get a female to touch my balls? Like,
Good
I
point.
chose
Henry.
the doctor,
Great point.
you
And
know?
on that note, let's watch. Comic Brandon says, "Can I offer you a link to my stand-up for you guys to watch on stream and roast with the homies?" And the answer is absolutely. I'm
we'll
so
do that.
curious about your stand-up. What
Yeah, that's
is it on
He's gonna
YouTube?
link you. He's gonna
The-
link you 100%.
The link is not going to work in the YouTube chat for some reason. Doesn't let you like link YouTube other videos. But tell me the exact name of it, Brandon. Just type it into the chat and I will find it. Or if it's like a private link, send it to me on Discord. So enter this Discord and just drop it in the chat there. Because that sounds amazing, and I have a suspicion that you're. Never mind. I'm not going to say it. Okay. God would
You're gonna
prefer
say
death
Jew or
if he wants us
something? What are you
all in
gonna say?
heaven with him. Yeah, right. The one thing Buddha got right, suffering is a choice, but he was rich. Yeah. I mean, I think
let me
Buddha
grab
got a
the
few things
Quran.
right. I do think Buddha got a few things right. I think he got a few more things right than the Quran even. Okay, so God would prefer death if he wants us all in heaven with him. Not true. But maybe God wants us to make Earth into heaven or something like that. That's what I would say. Numenon, as always, has the enlightened position.
How would that be possible? then
That's
what
what
would be the point of
that's
heaven?
what we
That
that's
makes
what
no
we will
sense.
have. That's what we're told that we will have is the kingdom of
makes-
So-
heaven
so
will
what is in
descend
heaven?
on
We
us.
die and
So-
we go back to Earth.
Well, no.
Well,
so is
Earth
it
will be
is in
made
heaven,
into
so it shall be
heaven.
in Earth.
Yeah, yeah. As it is
So
in heaven,
Earth will
so it
be
shall
made
be.
into Israel.
That's right. And we'll all be in the IDF.
Nice, that's heaven, baby.
Bro, did you actually on that note? Did you see that one Irish cunt, right, beat the fucking dog shit out of that IDF soldier in an MMA fight, and he screamed "Free Palestine, man"? It was
No
amazing.
way.
It was
Really?
Was that? I
Wow.
don't know. Was that part of the UFC card?
yeah, it was.
Was it actually?
It
No
was.
way. For
Bro,
real?
bro,
Whoa.
This Irish ginger cunt beat the dog shit out of this IDF fella. He used to be an IDF soldier, and he.
Wait,
he
was
took
this on
those videos,
UFC
like-
316?
All right, Comic Brain. I'm not going to
don't
give you
know
my
which one.
number, but I'll give you an email that you can email to.
No.
I
Dude,
don't
the
know which one
video.
it's on, but you can look it
Reese,
up
you
and
see the
look it up.
video I posted? That got a lot of views, dude.
Which one?
The one where I was like shirtless, and I was like, if you don't watch MMA, like it got 80,000 views.
Really?
The one where I was
Dude?
shirtless,
Nice.
and I was like, if you don't watch MMA while you're dressed like a UFC fighter, you're not a real fan.
Oh, that's awesome, bro.
And it was definitely
that
somewhat
Instagram?
rage bait because I
Yeah,
don't know, I
yeah.
did want the comments to call me gay for sure.
I know you did. All of your posts, by the way, are shirtless for some reason.
They're always like rage bait.
They're
for
always
people to call me
shirtless.
gay. That's what I'm looking
Okay, wait.
for.
Hold on. I have to switch. Or actually, is it on Instagram or where did you post it? Henry. I guess we're doing
Oh,
like
it's
content
Instagram, my
supporting hour, I guess, of the chat real quick,
My
real
Instagram,
quick
it's on
before we
my
get back into. Okay.
Watching UFC while cooking
Sorry,
up
I'm reading
some
the
elk
Quran.
while you're dressed like a UFC fighter.
What the
You're not
hell?
a real UFC fan, baby.
What am I
You're just
watching,
not a fan
Henry?
like
dude?
me. Hey,
Dude,
when
we got,
you're
like,
watching
25
UFC, if you're not watching,
That's awesome, man. This did really pop up. You're alone on this one. Did you draw on the chest hair?
Yeah, that was Shaw. That was Jack Shaw who wrote
That's
that.
hysterically. Oh my god. That's so funny. Wow, cool, man. That's sick. Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandon. He emailed it to me. Okay, now I'm gonna quickly switch while I check my email on stream.
The second chapter in the
gotta check my
Quran is
emails.
about the cow.
Oh, Brandon, I might have given you the wrong email. Did I do it with an S? Fuck, I did. Okay, sorry. It's this one, bro. Let me make sure
Dude,
that's right.
Did you know that the second chapter of the Quran, or really the first chapter, is about the cow?
Is it really? That's
Yeah.
a funny thing about the Quran is that they sort of just like fanfic take all of the dietary restrictions
Calm
from
down,
Judaism.
Mr. Calm down,
No,
Mr.
but he's
Calm
this
down,
is the
Mr.
thing.
Torah.
No, this is true. This is
He's
true.
not
This is
entirely wrong. Most of the diatribe is like basically talking about both the Torah and the New Testament. To be
well,
fair,
yeah, and
Let's
the
not
actual
pretend
Islamic.
like the Bible is Torah fanfic, okay?
It's not. It's not. The Bible is continuous with the Torah and actually fulfills prophecies from the Torah. The
Hey, listen,
Quran
I'm not
corrupts
saying that it's
and
not true, I'm just
changes
saying
the
it's
message.
fanfic.
It's not
Were they
fanfic.
not
It's
fans
completely
of the
different.
Torah?
But I'll explain what I
Like,
mean. There's something called the Islamic dilemma.
I agree
okay?
with both of you.
So the dilemma in Islam, which is unsolvable, which I've not heard any answer to, is that it in many different places, Muhammad,
How old is a woman?
which actually is more than Muhammad, which is the uncreated word of God, the Quran itself, commands you to abide by the book, which to them is the gospel, or they call that the Injil. So if you're a Christian, you abide by the Injil, and if you're a Jew, you abide by the book, their Bible, the Torah. But the Torah and the gospel contradict Islamic theology. So if the Quran is correct and you should abide by the Injil or the Torah, then Islam is false. And if Islam is,
I don't know.
if the Quran is incorrect,
fair,
that
the
you should
Quran
not abide by
is
the
pretty in line
Injil
with
and the
Judaism.
Torah, then Islam is false. So Islam just is false. There's
I
no
think you
way
have to
around
read
it.
the
I'm just
Quran
gonna-
though, because from when I went to the fucking mosque, it seemed that Islam was pretty similar, more to Judaism.
Yeah,
than it
because
was to Christianity.
they hide their theology. Well, either they don't know. Most Muslims are totally
the
good,
guy I met
loving.
seemed pretty genuine. Reese,
Yes, no,
okay?
they're
He didn't-
extremely
unlike
genuine.
This is the
Extremely
This is
genuine.
one thing I described to people. The difference is when I took this class, I think you might have. Did you take the Greenberg class or was that
Yeah, I
Jackson?
did.
Whatever.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, when I went to the mosque, he gave this to me for free and was just like, read it. Whereas I went to the Church of Scientology and they're like, pay $25 for Dianetics, you know? It was very genuine. I don't think he was trying to mislead.
No. Yeah, well, I do. I definitely. Also, I'll go on the record and say Islam is better than Scientology. Like, I think there is like a hierarchy of
no
how
way?
true
Really?
things are. Yeah, for sure. And so and as a reflection of that, many even imams, although I do think they have to do a little bit of trickery to be a fully fledged imam, like study the theology and study the books and study this problem and still preach it when it's demonstrably false. But most of the normal people have never heard of this. They have no concept of Muhammad marrying a 6-year-old. They have no concept of the Islamic dilemma. It's presented to them that, it means that the Injil and the Torah are corrupted. So the real version of them is what they're supposed to follow. But then the implication of that, which is not expounded on usually, is that, so Allah told you to follow something you don't have and actually doesn't exist? So that's another dilemma, even if you go that route. But so that's why I'm more critical of Islam than other religions in that respect. It's theologically, like, contradictory.
Right, but here's the thing: is that like, it's the Jews that say the same thing about Christianity. Like they don't think that you any prophecy.
They can't levy that same. No, because Christianity doesn't say abide by the Torah if you're a Jew. It says abide. It says I am the way and the truth.
I'm just saying he says that. I don't say it's the same contradiction.
That's cap. Hella people for like 300 years were both Jews and Christians until they made them stop doing both.
Because you can abide by the Torah if you want. It's perfectly fine laws. You just don't need to because Christ is here to be the way and the truth and the life.
You can't because you can't because of the sacrificial laws. The sacrificial laws are specifically abolished in the Bible, but it's never said in the Torah whether or not any of these laws will be abolished. So that's fan fiction. It never says the Messiah will come and abolish the sacrificial laws in the Torah. It doesn't say that in the Old Testament. It just is put in there in the Bible in the New Testament.
It says that the Messiah will come, and it describes the Messiah, and then the implication is that you will listen to what the Messiah says, and so then whenever he comes and fulfills all these prophecies, what he says is what he says. So that's what Christianity is.
Look,
There's nothing fanfic.
That I'm going to Trader Joe's. Okay.
Okay. All right. Wait. Do you want to watch Brandon's comedy? Oh, whatever. Well, we'll watch Brandon's comedy together without.
I'm gonna watch this and then I have to head.
Okay, word.
Anybody in here ever have a childhood? Yeah, I didn't think so. Mine was stolen by a crackhead.
Oh, can you guys not hear it?
I can't.
I mean, you can hear it. No, why? Oh, because I'm not sharing screen. That's why. That makes perfect sense. It's called nudes. Let's see it, Brandon. Let's see if we got to get you out here to LA, get you start auditioning at the Comedy Store.
For a fact this is some random fella. I know for a fact.
No, this is him, dude. Look, it's his title and stuff. Brandon Belanger.
Oh shit. Okay.
It's actually him. Yeah. Okay, we'll start it over. This is so funny that you asked me to. Content warning: everything I say is offensive and related to drugs, sex, hookers, and violence. It's good. So is my comedy. This was one night after I got rear-ended by a police officer and not my entire set. Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll keep watching. This is like the ballsiest move I've ever heard in my life, so I actually respect it to actively want to watch your set with a bunch of people that might just rip it apart. But hey, look, man, I respect that. Truly, I do. So let's get into it.
Anybody in here ever have a childhood? Yeah, I didn't think so. Mine was stolen by a crackhead. I had to call her mom.
Oops, sorry.
So I goes without saying, I grew up in the projects by myself. Just kidding, my dad raised me. Yeah, oh yeah. My dad raised me by himself in the projects, and he was a funny man. He told me all the time if my mother had not abandoned me, he would have.
That's pretty funny.
He thought it'd be fucking hilarious to buy me a purple New Kids on the Block bicycle. Yeah.
Nice.
In the projects.
That's funny. So far, you are a slightly better comedian. Not slightly, much better comedian than philosophical thinker Brandon. I'll give you that for sure.
Everybody's still here. I think she needs an EMT. Are you okay? Are you not going to see her? Were you one of the cunts that stole my bike? You were? Yeah, probably. That's just funny. I've been trying to call her that all night. How long have you guys known each other? And I'll give it up to our next comedian for the night. My dad, he raised me by himself with the projects, and there's a lot of things that you can't learn growing up in the projects, like how to have a lawn.
That's pretty good.
But he did teach me how to eyeball grass. So, I remember I was about 3 or 4 years old. I wasn't too good with words yet. Me and my dad had to play whatever games we had cut back from the back of a cereal box. And we were playing this one game we cut from the back of a Captain Crunch box pretty frequently, and these two nuns were trying to keep my attention. And they were like, in a bank in line. And they were like asking me stupid fucking questions like, what's your name? Brandon, how do you not know my name? And eventually they asked, what do you and your dad do for fun? I announced loudly and proudly to these two nuns. Me and my dad play the private game. That was my first death threat ever. My dad starts freaking out. He's like, I'll fucking kill you. You're not supposed to tell people that. Tell them how you play the game. Well, there's a penny and it's cardboard. Please don't hit me in front of the people. I remember I grew up watching my mom smash my dad in the face with a brass rotary phone.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's funny when women do it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Brandon is a much better comedian. One that I was
You
expecting.
should have shamed them for not laughing at that. Like, it's funny when a woman does it. Why didn't you laugh, asshole?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's
Also,
a
I
good
feel
note
like
from Henry. I
you
feel
should
like
have
that.
expounded. I love the idea of like playing the games on the back of a cereal box consistently.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I've never thought of something like that. You know, it's like there's definitely more there because like the crowd didn't really react to it, and there's definitely some tags.
Well, it's definitely a
you
weird
know.
crowd. You're definitely in like an Italian restaurant that looks like it should have been closed down or something.
Very
there's a
weird
lot of
crowd.
explode.
They're also reacting really well.
Yeah, no, they're doing great. I mean, it seems like a fun show.
No, it's a hot.
To be honest,
I know for
yeah, what's up?
just I know for a fact if I ever did comedy, I'd have to do it in America because I got the initial Irish bonus.
The Irish what?
The Irish bonus. No one would know what I'm said or whether or not.
Yes.
Like,
Oh,
yeah,
that is
yeah,
actually
yeah.
true. Although there is one Irish comedian here that kind of sucks, but I won't say his name. But Henry, I think you
Mark?
probably know. No. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But
Yo,
yes,
Mark
the
Irish?
accent.
Is he Irish?
No, it's not Mark. It's not Mark. It's literally a different guy.
Is he Irish or is he Irish?
Mark Hayes. if
He
you wanna look
sounds
him up,
more
he's very
Irish than you, Infamous. He sounds more Irish than you.
Shut up before I grab it by the crew bean.
Well, yes. When you turn it on, you can really turn it on. But yes, you get in America. You get, and probably I've heard that, and Henry might even know that when you go to England, you get the same sort of effect from having an American accent. But when you come to America as like a comedian with a strange accent, you get like, what would you say, like a 20% boost in reaction,
20%
Henry?
boost,
Yeah,
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
like something like
If you're
that.
English, if you're English, it's like a negative 10% because they want to mock you, so it's funny when you say
Mm-hmm.
things, but a positive 10% because of the accent.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
There aren't that many British guys around that I can think of. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I can't really think of.
I can think of
There's
one dude who's older, but
there's one podcast that I saw recently. I thought was very funny, Irish humor, man. Where
Oh,
it was,
cool.
The 100 gorillas, or not the 100 gorillas, the 100 fellas versus a gorilla.
100 fellas. That's awesome. I love that.
One of them was just like, one of them was like, if them fellas are from Tala, that gorilla's fucked. he goes, how about this now? 3 fellas versus 1 gorilla, but before the fight, they have to go on the beer for 3 days. See how smart that gorilla is after that. Right there in the corner, old coward. Silverback, you're only a young fella.
That's hilarious. Oh shit! I gotta check that out. I love the Irish accent. It's so funny.
I was on the date with the stripper when I came up with the idea of 100 Joe Rogans versus 1 gorilla.
That is a funny idea too.
Joe Rogan's is fucked up, man. 100%.
Yeah.
He'd be high as fuck when he goes into that fight.
Yeah.
Dude, that stripper posted on her Instagram story, like, it's so hard dating in LA when I tell people what I do. I'm like, bitch, I tried to go on a second date with you. You suck.
No,
Well, she clearly didn't like you then. I mean, who is
I
this?
know. Fuck this bitch.
Yeah.
I'm a catch. I'm a great guy.
Yeah, Henry's a catcher. Didn't you see his underwear UFC video on Instagram? He's a.
Man, shut up. I'm taking you to dinner tonight.
I know, and I do appreciate that. And what time are we? Well, we'll talk about it.
It's Dave mainly.
Yeah.
I don't think we live close, so if you want to meet at 7:15.
Yeah, I'll meet you. Yeah. Comic person, my first.
100 gorillas, man, is fucked because it's 100%. He would go up to him, right? Joe Rogan would 100% go up to him and be like, "Have you ever seen a bear?" And then he'd get fucking his head ripped off. Like,
yeah. The Joe Rogans would be too high to actually fight the gorilla. In my first year, Anthony Jeselnik told one of my jokes.
With them because they speak the same language.
Yeah, because they look the same. The gorillas actually just think he is one of them. But
no, have you seen the Joe Rogan gorilla impressions? They're so good.
Have you seen the hairless chimpanzee? He literally looks like one of them.
yeah, I know he does. Okay, so
a fucking sunburn on his head from that fucking lamp he has in the podcast room.
Brandon, I'm curious what Anthony Jeselnik like. Did he actually hear your joke and he took it, or was it like you guys had the same thought type of thing? You go, I'm a third Irish, third French, 20%.
The only time
Spain.
I've gone after someone for stealing a joke of mine is when I know for a fact they were at a same place and heard me take a joke.
Yeah, it's super, especially
Like, I remember-
if it's a hack joke and you accuse someone of stealing it and they didn't, they just thought of the same hack joke as you, then that is really embarrassing.
Yeah, that happened with me and Jack Shaw like
Really?
2-3 years ago.
I've never had to
It
deal with
wasn't
that.
even a joke. It was like a really similar premise where I say like I'm really good at sex. But he had a completely different thing that he did with it. It was
That was the
super
premise that he
different. It wasn't
stole?
even-
That's not even a...
No, he didn't steal it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I was going to say.
It's funny
Yeah,
to say good
that's
at sex.
crazy
Like,
that you were going to
out.
accuse
like
him
that
of
old
stealing that
It's
as
like
a
that
premise.
old joke where you're like,
No, the other person was Ryan the cable viewer, who I confronted on, and I still think he did steal it. But I'm just like, this guy sucks. I don't give a shit.
there
He's
is
getting
this
wrecked.
there is
Yeah.
this one old Catholic joke that I remember from school where it was like, how good do you think Mary was at sex? I bet she was fucking great. She fought God like. She had to been good like. She had to be good like.
She had to be good guy.
She had to be good.
That's a crazy joke. That's awesome. Okay, Colin Brandon, I think he has
Jesus
spies
just
go to
in his
open
head
mics and
sometimes.
steal jokes. No, it's very specific. If you don't mind, drop the joke, or if you could, if you have any details about the joke, I'll try to find it because I'm curious. I doubt some part of me is skeptical about Anthony Jeselnik sending out a network of spies throughout the country to steal jokes for his special, but it's not impossible. It's not, especially the types
I
of
did
jokes.
see him say something recently
does.
that I really respected, which is him basically saying how he doesn't do crowd work anymore because that's what people think comedy is, and it's not.
I mean, it's like
he
I
was
kind of
basically-
respect
which
that, but it's also like
you
you're
can
an idiot.
disagree with it, but it's fair, because he was basically saying like if you ask someone what they think stand-up comedy is, it's that you ask someone in the crowd what they do for a living.
Oh yeah.
Or where they're from, and you make a joke
That's
on
true.
it, and
That's
that's
true.
not what it is, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so it's a joke about some dad's penis in 2014. All right, fair enough. All right, let's finish Brandon's set, and then maybe...
Dad's penis is always hacky.
When my
What do you,
mom
wait,
feed my
wait, pause
dad
that.
with
Do you
the-
agree?
Yeah. Dad's penis is
just
always
hacky
hacky.
overall.
It
Like a
is
dad's
prone
penis
to
joke,
hacking.
seeing a
That
dad's
is...
penis joke, I think that's hacky.
very prone to hack, for sure.
Yeah, I think regardless.
But
yeah.
if it's but because they're so rare, good ones, this might actually prove Brandon's point. Now the question is Brandon hearing a dad's penis joke and going, "That was my joke," when it was nothing like it. That's possible.
It would need to be the same punchline for me.
Yeah,
to
if it's
agree
like the
with him.
same punchline and like setup and like there's no way to make the joke work except for the way Brandon, thought of it and did it or whatever, then that would actually lend credence to the fact that Jesselnick stole it, because it would be the only good dad's penis joke, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I just think I always feel like that's like a hacky premise. Like
Yeah. And I do like the anti-joke thing Brandon put in the chat here. His jokes are anti-jokes based on jokes I kept seeing at open mics. I like doing that too. That is fun. Like I had one anti-joke about dating in LA as well based on that, because that's something you see like ad nauseum out here is dating in LA is so hard. That's
the joke I had about traffic, where I was like, traffic in LA is so bad, and then I make it racist. Yeah, driving in Koreatown's horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a friend in my class who he just keeps fucking. I'm going to fucking driving school. It's awful, but the lessons.
You are?
So I don't give a fuck.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congrats, man. In Europe, everyone learns to drive when they're like 59 years old. What the hell's going on? You don't know how to drive yet?
No, our public transport system is.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, it actually works. The public transport actually works. No, but it is just a nightmare.
Across the country.
Yeah. What's that?
Nothing.
No, I know it's great.
To get a bus across the country, nothing.
Yeah, no, it's great.
But what's it called? Yeah, I have a fella who's in our class, and he constantly looks at me, right? Every time we're talking about mistakes that people make on the road, he references that one Family Guy clip with the Asian girl, and he goes, "Good luck, everybody else."
Oh yeah, good luck, everybody else. I love that one. That is my favorite joke, dude. I think about that every day I drive.
I fucking love that. Like,
good luck, everybody. Oh no, my exit is 6 lanes over on this highway. Good luck, everybody else.
Everybody else.
I fucking love that meme. And
that is one of the funniest like things on a TV show that's ever happened.
I went to Disneyland actually.
Yeah.
Like recently. Like
you did?
Like,
oh wow.
I went to Disneyland like 2 weeks ago, and I was there for 3 days.
Yeah.
Why didn't you call us? We would have paid for your dinner.
Yeah, we would have paid your dinner.
You would have.
Was it Disneyland in Florida, or Disney World in Florida, or Disneyland here in California?
No, Paris.
Oh, in Paris.
Oh.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know there was one in Paris. Cool.
I thought the whole thing is that they do land because LA.
I thought it was
and
America.
World because Orlando.
No. But if I wait, do you live close there? Do you?
Okay, sorry. What were you saying? We interrupted you.
I said, do you live close there?
Close to what? To Disney World?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. We're probably 45 minutes away.
Not Disney World, it's Disneyland.
It's Disneyland in California. Yeah.
Yeah, Disney World's Orlando.
Disney World is
we
Orlando.
We would have gone to the California one. So yeah, we would have. I mean, I'm going to America next year because
Nice.
I'm going to meet some business partners of mine. But I'm going to fucking.
Sweet.
I'm going to Baltimore. So.
Baltimore, yeah, that's going to be way out of the way.
Go to Nebraska.
Nebraska and Baltimore. Imagine doing an America trip and going to Nebraska.
That's what I'm basically doing. I'm just driving through the country.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
I mean, that'll be fun. It'll be interesting to drive through the country. That is an amazing experience. Like even just from Baltimore to Nebraska.
That's like if I went to
Baltimore's gonna be an amazing experience
I'm
already.
going to England and I only went to like Birmingham.
Yeah.
You didn't go to Mackhausenshire,
Yeah.
Birmingham's a bad example because that's a city. It's just a shite city. I'm just like, fuck.
You say shite, don't ever say that.
Well, this sounds unnatural coming from the American.
You've never heard Danny G.
Danny G.
Who the fuck is Danny G?
Oh,
Danny G
look up Danny G. Birmingham.
Danny G is shite.
I know who he is. It's the Xbox fella. I know who he is.
Comic Credit says, I think it's a test to see if you deserve greatness or if you're a crybaby bitch. If someone steals your jokes, write more jokes. I agree with that, actually, in general. I don't think there's almost
Yes and
any
no.
reason to
I think
confront
that
someone
if they're
about
like, if you're on the same level and you're both making money off jokes, and someone steals your shit. Like, heard a story recently about someone like walking into the store and punching Robin Williams in the face.
it. Yeah, I heard
And it's
that.
tough because as much as you might like Robin Williams, they're right. You can't
Yeah.
steal jokes and not expect something to happen.
No, it's true. I mean, yeah.
I do love making a good joke in a pub or something. I don't know if I could do stand up, but
Yeah.
like, I just have a bunch of stories I think people would find funny. Like one day,
Yeah.
right, we were in the pub, and out of nowhere, this what's a female stag party? Is it a stag party?
Well, we call them bachelorette parties, but yeah.
Yeah,
Bachelorette party. There you go.
Yeah,
Bachelorette
yeah.
party comes in, right? And they're all filing in. You know, I'm fairly happy because again, it's a fucking stag party.
Yeah.
And so I'm just drinking and I'm watching the women pile in, right?
Yeah.
I take one sip of my drink and I look over and there's 3 sex dolls. And I'm like, no, they were women the last time I looked at them. There's definitely new things.
Yeah. Yeah. What the
And
hell?
so one gets thrown over at me, right? And my first thought is, oh, I'm gonna have to get checked now.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I throw it back at her, and she takes it. So I'm like, okay, I probably don't have to get checked, but let's do her just to make sure.
That is a funny story. That is a strange story.
I shit you not. I was in the middle of. You don't understand, right? Because you're thinking about a pub in LA or something like that. I'm talking middle of nowhere. These ladies got out of a bus in a village.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, that is actually really
filed
strange.
in.
Where were they
like
from?
A fucking, like a flashback from fucking Family Guy. Like,
Yeah.
This is crazier. That one time I was in the middle of nowhere and a stag party came in. Like, what are you talking about?
Gone Brenda says, but then that guy never made it, the guy who punched Robin Williams, and Robin Williams just kept getting bigger. So, yeah, I mean, honestly.
That's true. He's not wrong. He's fully not wrong.
That guy,
But at the same time,
I'm
but
sure
my
Robin
point is
Williams stole his
overall,
joke,
he
and I'm
doesn't mean
sure
you
that was a
deserve-
good joke. That doesn't mean that guy was a good comedian. You know what I mean? Like, if you write hundreds of jokes, then you don't really need any individual one. Now, if someone steals my 7-minute closing bit or whatever, then that's a different thing. Like, that's a totally different story. But one-liner that Robin Williams is doing, I don't even know if I'd be pissed. I'd kind of just be like, wow.
Well,
my
Robin
joke made it.
notoriously was a joke thief. That's
Yeah,
the thing,
yeah,
is
and everyone
that,
did know that. Yeah, the Carlos Mencia thing
and
too
it's
is
fucked
like,
up because he would
Mhm.
take your joke and get a bigger laugh than you.
yeah, that's what would fuck me up, but also kind of make me be like, well, he can have it. Like, I've had jokes where we thought of the same thing, and the other person's take was just like slightly better than mine, or even a lot better than mine. And I'll be like, you know what?
But
That one
Robin,
wasn't
it
for
was
me.
never his
That
take.
wasn't.
He would lift it word for word. It was his acting that was
Yeah,
over the top.
that's true. His whole like goofy acting.
I did steal a few jokes though from other things that I've watched. Now they weren't comedians, right? But I have
Yeah.
like things from like Team Fortress or not Team
Yeah.
Fortress. Team Four Star, right? Where there's
Pyrocynical.
Pyrocynical. No, but like it's the one Alucard one. It's very religious. Actually, I think you'd really like it. There's one where it's like no, I want to see the real version of you, and it comes out this really fucking mocking vampire, and he's like, you want to know how to get cum stains out of holy out of, you want to know how to get cum stains out of altar boy robes? Holy water. And then he shoots him in the leg.
What the?
But no, but the fucking like that series. Actually, now I think about it, you'd really like that series. It's a whole thing based around a vampire versus the Catholic Church. It's
cool.
amazing.
Alucard.
And one of them's actually an Irish priest who stabs himself in the fucking chest with one of the nails that pierced Christ's arm, and he's like, Alucard. There you go.
Yeah, there it is. Sweet. Yeah, check it out. Sounds awesome.
I mean, you can watch the original. I prefer the abridged. I think the abridged is funnier. I mean, the abridged is meant to be funny.
Oh, cool. Sweet.
Yeah. It's good. You're just looking up Alucard now, but if you look up Alucard TFS.
Oh, TFS.
I'm getting out of my car.
All right, let's finish up Brandon's set here. He'll give you bucks for jokes. I would take it and keep writing. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Brandon. I sort of, the less complaining one does, the better. The more hard work they do, the better. That's what I think. Especially, well, in all walks of life, but comedy. Comedy is about continuously generating. You can't like really just stop. Otherwise you'll not really be funny.
Rotary phone, the cops would show up and they beat the shit out of her. And that's called consequences. That's called consequences. You shouldn't beat your significant other. But, okay, we don't like domestic violence in Woonsocket. I thought that would go over a lot better. I've seen the police blotter. So I'm actually from here. I'm from here. I'm from Woonsocket. I owe most of you money. And I grew up trying to stay true to my roots. You know, the one thing when Woonsocket's done well, the one thing that we have good going for us is CVS. So I tried to get rich from selling drugs. Like they did, and it's not working out. I recently had to resort to the internet to try to find my soulmate. In April, I started on Plenty of Fish. And just last week, after a few months of hard work, I was banned from Plenty of Fish for following Rhode Island's catch and release laws. It's not the same kind of fish, I guess.
That one could use a little. That one is a little. It's unclear. There either needs to be another tag or something actually in between the punchline and the setup there. Like, the reason you get that laugh, that like stunted laugh, is because people are making the jokes themselves in their head, but it didn't come across clearly in that set. So just a little note for you on that one. Like, that's a good joke. It's a really good joke. But as the audience, as the viewer, you are doing the work in your head. At least that's my experience. And that's why I think it got sort of like a pop, like a little pop. But I think you need to flesh that out into something that like is obvious for the audience. That's what I would say about that joke. But funny, very funny. I like that.
Okay, so Woonsocket doesn't have too many claims to fame. There's three. There's CBS, Johnny Knoxville came here once, and Joe Rogan talked shit about us on Jay Leno. Right? And he called us a drunken fisherman town. And I have never even fucking met a fisherman in this town. Except for the crackheads who are fishing in the Blackstone River. So if you see my mom, say hi.
Yeah. Sweet, man. Good set. I like it. Honestly, way better than I was expecting. So, good stuff, man. Appreciate you. Keep at it. Keep writing. Keep doing your thing. Maybe move to a bigger scene if you're ready. I mean, it seems like you might be ready to start to take it up to a bigger scene. Far from me to say that, but depends on what you want out of it, really. But good stuff, man. Good stuff. Great stuff. Okay. Have we got anything else on the back end here to talk about?
Oh my god.
I can't stop thinking in an Irish accent now, and admittedly a horrible Irish accent.
Yeah, I can fucking tell.
Should I do it? Should I do it my leprechaun style? Wait, what did I used to say? I used to have like a line. Oh, welcome to Leprechaun Hour with Race. I've left me pot of gold somewhere. I don't even know how you do an Irish accent. But I guarantee you Americans think that is one. Okay.
I don't even think I know a county that speaks like that.
Well, no, yeah, that's crazy. I would hope there isn't.
Enough, I met a girl in my course who speaks fluent Irish, and she was raised speaking Irish. She lives off one of the islands.
Oh, like the Celtic language, like Gaelic?
She speaks Gaeilge, which is
wow.
Gaelic dialect in Ireland.
Wow.
And so she speaks pure fluent Irish. Then she learned English, and she came over to the mainland. But she actually sounds more American than I do because
she probably learned it from TV and stuff, right? Wow.
Yeah, their accent is non-existent.
That's wild.
They just speak the language.
That's crazy, man. I've been meaning to. So my heritage is Welsh. That's why my name is spelled RHYS.
Yeah, you wouldn't speak Gaeilge. You'd speak
the Welsh version, whatever they spoke. But so I've been watching. Yeah, it's something crazy and unpronounceable. But yeah, I've been watching videos about it, and I was like, damn, it'd be so cool to learn that language. But apparently, it's like as hard as learning Japanese. Like, there's no cognates. I mean, it's probably somewhat less hard than
It's
Japanese,
an ancient
but
language when they were.
yeah,
It's an ancient language. Like it's as old like Gaelic or sorry Gaelic language. Yeah, Gaelic languages are basically as old as like ancient Egyptian. Like that's
yeah,
old.
right, like, which is so
Gaeilge
cool.
specifically is as old as ancient Egyptian. I'm not sure about Welsh because they would have been on the mainland of England. But
Oh yeah, yeah,
but Gaeilge is as old as ancient Egyptian.
that's amazing.
Like we built Newgrange around the exact same time the Great Pyramids of Giza were built.
Right, I've heard about that. The new Grange, yeah.
Like it's literally just everything that the Great Pyramids of Giza are, but we had less people, so it's smaller. It's not a pyramid; it's like a hill. We built it into a hill because there's two things you can do to build well as a civilization.
Yeah.
And that's build into something or build a pyramid.
Right. Why is that? I mean, I guess I've heard of
the structure. Yeah. If you build into a mountain, the structure's already there. You don't really need to do anything.
No, I get that part. Why a pyramid though? I guess we do see pyramids in the ancient world.
It's the most structurally sound thing.
A pyramid?
Yeah, it's supported on all sides, all four sides.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess technically like
I feel like
add four more corners to it, and it's even more structured.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I feel like just like a big box would be more structurally sound, or like easier to build. A pyramid?
Oh yeah, it's a big box, except they have one top. That's it. They just didn't want to make They didn't want to make 3 more corners at the top. Also, concave at the top.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Whereas the force of gravity is dispersed upon a cone at the top of the pyramid.
Right. That does make sense. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Brandon, no problem. Thanks for sending it over, and thanks for copyright striking my channel. That's good.
Cool.
He asked a question, which I don't know what Gaul, G-A-L, and Gallic. I've heard of the Gallic people, but he's asking, is that related to Gaelic? So he's asking, is G-A-L and G-A-L-L-I-C related to Gaelic?
Wait, Gallic?
Gallic, because I think didn't the Romans fight the Gauls or something?
That's in Spain.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's like a Spanish, but
like
maybe they're related.
Serbian,
I don't know.
Isn't it?
Don't really know. Well, we could look it up. What is Gallic? Pertaining to or containing gallium, a chemical element. No, Gaul. Okay, Gaul was France in the Roman period. I mean, that's what they called that region. That's what the people were called. So maybe the Gauls are related to the Gaels.
I don't think it's related. Again, Gaelic is like, I don't know about the word Gaelic, but Gaeilge is ancient.
Oh wait, here, there's a. Yeah, Gaeilge. Gaelic refers to languages spoken in Scotland and Ireland, including Scottish Gaelic and Irish Gaelic. For example, the phrase, I could not possibly say this, Seed mille felte, 100,000 welcomes, is in Irish Gaelic. On the other hand, Gallic is a term associated with France or the French culture. It's derived from the Latin term Gallia, which means France. An example is the Gallic rooster, a symbol of the French nation. Yeah. That? Is that what you were saying? Or
huh?
No. What were you just saying?
I just said, can I get out of here for 5 minutes? Thank you very much.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole stream is gonna wrap up in a sec here.
I wasn't asking literally.
Okay.
So
Cool.
the classic joke is "Onwil Cadigum Dulgdi and Letters Mashi means can I go to the toilet hallway?
Yeah.
The direct translation to English is "Can I get the fuck out of here for 5 minutes?"
That's hilarious. That is funny. I like that. I thought you were gonna say like when you said, "Can I go to the toilet in the hallway?" I was like, I was picturing you just taking a shit in the hall, but.
No, it means like the door to the toilet. Like toilet is not the thing. It's like the.
No, I know. We have an idiom like "go to the toilet" is like actually pissing. You guys don't have that. I understand that. Yeah.
No, yeah, because we have going to the bathroom is pissing. Like I went to the bathroom.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
I took a shit or I pissed. Right?
Yeah.
But if we say I'm going to the toilet,
yeah,
you don't necessarily mean I'm going to the latrine. You mean
I'm
going to the room with the toilet.
Yeah, right. Like
Like
you could be going to wash up you could be going to wash up or something else. Yeah, I've heard that.
Well, I
And
mean,
in
wash up
German,
would
they have a
generally be
similar
efficient,
like idiom. Uh, genau. Yeah,
Yeah,
coming
I
to
think- have you
America
watched-
and
have you
going to
watched-
Baltimore and Nebraska is kind of like when I went to Germany and lived in Leipzig. Like the most random place. Leipzig. Lepsch, as they call it.
Left shit. Bro, I can't, like, it's gonna be like a fucking 4-hour flight. It's fucked.
4 hour. From what, to you to Baltimore?
No, from Baltimore to fucking Nebraska.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is probably like a 4-hour flight. From you to Baltimore is what, like 7 hours? Or something?
From me, it's about 7 hours, yeah. And so, like, I'm gonna have to go into Chicago. Oh, I am going to Chicago, actually, I think. So I have to
That's
go
a
to
good city.
Chicago.
That's so fun.
Then someone's picking me up.
Cool.
To Nebraska, and then I'm
Wow.
flying to Baltimore.
Wow. Cool.
So it's gonna be like a fucking 20.
That's gonna be a great trip. I'd say if you're in LA, we should meet up, but obviously you'll be very far from LA.
I guarantee to you, I'm a lot less physically intimidating.
I was. There's no sense of me that's been intimidated by you, so I appreciate
No,
that.
I'm saying that I'm a lot less physically intimidating
compared to even how unintimidating I find you now, or
I'm just saying compared to whatever it is now.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. No, I'm not saying that to be like I'm not intimidated by you. I'm just saying I don't feel the intimidation is not something that entered my mind when we talk.
It's like a saying. It's like this fella thinks he's intimidating. Like,
oh, I see. Okay.
It's like a stature thing. Like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's also probably a difference in idioms that I wasn't picking up on. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like what? I'm like 5'5". So
yeah, okay.
5'6".
Sweet. I'm actually probably people think that I'm shorter than I am when they see me online.
You're probably like what? Like you're like what? Like 5'10", 6'4"?
Yeah, that's about right. I'm 5'11".
Yeah.
Comic Brandon is accepting donations on all platforms at Comic Brandon. So anyone that wants to donate to him, feel free. I don't even ask for donations, but I'm hawking them for Comic Brandon.
Someone asked if I had a YouTube channel the other day.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Brandon's only 6'3", which I don't believe even remotely, unless that video is extremely like a house of mirrors. Unless that set took place in a house of mirrors.
Tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lamp beside you looks suspiciously.
Yeah. Unless this stool is made for giants. Unless this stool is like 5 feet tall. I don't.
These stools were made for before Noah's time. Like.
Yeah, exactly.
These are pre-Ark time stools. Like.
Actually, now that I look at it, he might. It actually is really hard to judge height because we don't know how tall like this is.
It depends
yeah, that would be like a normal chair, but there's also like him standing.
He's on like a stage.
And he is probably well, maybe. Yeah, it looks like he might be on some kind of raised platform. So it's just a question of how tall this stool is. Yeah.
No, he's like 5'10", 100%.
You think? Yeah. I'm gonna go 5'8". That's my guess. Oh, he literally is 6'3". Yeah, that's the other thing. It could actually be 6'3", just because we don't know how tall any of this stuff is. So I believe you, Brandon. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on 6'3". How about that?
Just kidding.
How about that? All right, guys, that's a solid stream. That was fun. Hope you guys enjoyed. We got a little off topic. Didn't totally like prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the Lady of Guadalupe. We got fucking 6.5 minutes into it before we went fully off the rails and just into whatever.
Yeah,
so we'll leave it for next time. We got plenty of stuff to talk about and look at for next time. And yeah, stay happy, stay wise, keep be skeptical, but have faith in whatever you have faith in. Be skeptical in whatever you're
that
skeptical.
sounds like a good note. See, that sounds like a good channel motto. You should make
be
that.
skeptical but have faith. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's a good one. You should market that.
Yeah, that's a good faithful
be skeptical,
skeptic.
but have faith.
Yeah, but I don't even want to identify myself as like a skeptic. That's just like.
Yeah, but you're not. You're saying be skeptical.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. David asks, is LA still burning? Yeah, that's what my parents in South Carolina keep telling me. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice where I'm at. I was like, I had some. My dad texted me, he's like, "How you hanging in there, bud?" I was like, I had some ramen today. I don't know. It's like mellow here. I don't even know about these riots that are happening.
I boiled the water at the fucking forest lake.
Yeah, yeah. Instituted a curfew for 1 mile active arrest. Yes, there is a curfew downtown. I'm not saying nothing's happening. There is actually like rioting. My dad said he texted me. He goes, "Why are they doing that to those poor Waymos?" I was like, "Yeah, they are the true.
Waymos.
Yeah, the poor Waymo. The robotic cars really are the victims here." I don't know if it's still burning. I don't know any like firsthand information. I just hear probably what you're hearing, honestly. But there is a curfew downtown for sure, and there are riots, if you want to call them that. I mean, I will. Anytime you're just vandalizing property, that's a riot.
Oh my god, man! At this point, like Northern Ireland's fucked, man. There's a fucking one. So like, I'm not saying that this isn't a tragedy, right? But one person raped two 14-year-olds.
Yeah,
they
Jesus.
Just so happened to be brown.
Wow.
Oh, the fucking.
Also,
horror.
statistically more likely to be, but anyway.
No, not fucking here.
Oh yeah, okay.
They brought that up, and they brought that. I don't fucking know what it is over there.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
But like, how many people over here in a Catholic-based country?
Sure.
Do you think young people were raped by white straight men? Like.
Yeah.
I guarantee to you, because I think the number is 244 in the last 10 years, and the number for like people of ethnic minorities was like 12.
Well, I've heard of more than 12 within like the last year. So, or is that just in Ireland? Or is that like just in your?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
No, it's just in Northern Ireland. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Just in Northern Ireland. Gotcha.
244 in Northern Ireland by white fellas, like, and they didn't see a peep out of them. They're just racists. Like, they just want to to riot over racism. Like,
oh, so they're rioting over the immigration. Oh, I see. Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
it's actually the same that's happening here.
Immigration is wrong, and I'm just like, brother, like the statistics don't speak for themselves. Man. 244 of you did the exact same thing, but you didn't speak a second for that.
Yeah, I bet some of those guys were rioting as well. But also, I want to be clear with my chat here. I don't agree with unfettered open border. So, I have sympathy and empathy, and I have a lot of Mexican Latino friends here that are worried for their family and all that stuff. So I want to say to them, I'm here to support you and love you and all that stuff. But also, a country has laws, and so you have to enforce the laws of a country. What do you mean? Would I let him in?
Second coming of Christ. Would you let Jesus in?
Like me personally, like sneak him over the border and hold him in my house? Like, yeah, of course.
100%,
yeah. But would I say that there should be no laws? No. So that's what I'm speaking to. I'm not saying I would.
Do you think he should be an exception to those laws?
Yeah, I'd say Jesus probably. But let me be clear, Jesus, not Jesus.
That was good.
So there's like 15 million Jesuses that I'm more worried about. If Jesus Christ himself wants to sneak into America, then what I would do is I wouldn't riot, I wouldn't advocate for different laws. I would just simply break the law and harbor him in my house. That's what I would do.
Right, that's what all those are doing.
Yeah, but they're not Jesus Christ, so it's a big difference, right? Okay, so
one of them might.
Sure, maybe one of them is, and I hope he gets to stay.
Oh, actually, before we end the stream, there's an interesting thing I heard the other day from Candace Owens.
Oh yeah. About is it about Macron's wife? Because that is really interesting, and I
have no idea what that is, but
okay, keep going. Say whatever you just say. Yeah.
The thing that I heard was it was she was having a debate with this Jew from Israel, and she was like, we don't even have to go into the politics of this. We can go straight to script. This Jew from Israel, and she was like, we don't even have to go into the Bible. In Revelation, it says there will be people that call themselves Jews and commit evil acts who are not Jews. Like, and then you could see your man's face drop. He's like, oh fuck.
Like he was. Oh yeah. Wait, but he's Jewish, so why does he care about what the Bible says?
But it's not a usual argument. Like, she's not arguing the politics. She's just like, Christians should not believe in you. Like,
Right.
And who's their main supporters in the USA? It's the Christians. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true. I think
it's like the
I'm
alphabet
actually
Christian
not
majority.
a Zionist, and I don't think the Bible when it talks about Israel in relation to Revelation. I mean, maybe there's a physical place, maybe there's a physical Israel, but I don't think it's actually that clear from the scripture that Israel doesn't mean the body of the church, like that it doesn't mean.
It says you shall be a people without a land. Like
That's what. Yeah,
you shall wander
exactly.
the earth.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so
Yeah.
Israel will never be a place that like Jesus.
Right.
Well,
So
he
I don't.
presumably said that.
To whatever extent I do or do not support Israel, it actually isn't biblically like grounded, and I think a lot of Americans support them because they read the Schofield Bible or whatever came down from that, right? And they say, "Oh, this is important for the rapture. There has to be a nation of Israel," but they're misreading nation of Israel as
They're
like a
misreading
real,
yeah.
as a physical nation, and as opposed to the body of believers, right?
I mean, yeah, the main thing that I think is like even if you're to be the most if you're to be the most apathetic to the situation and have no empathy at all, and only verity is like eye for an eye.
Yeah.
What we've essentially witnessed on a global scale here is a back and forth, verbally abusive couple getting to the point where the woman smacks him across the face.
Yeah,
in
right.
return, the man beats the fucking dog shit out of him and says, "But
It's
she
true.
smacked me."
It's true.
It's
That's
like
pretty similar. And it's not, but it's also not to say she should have smacked him. But it's not to say that you should use too much force. Like the man shouldn't beat the shit out of his wife.
Yeah,
but it's not like the wife should be smacking him. So that's why it's
literally not
nuanced.
that
That's why it's exactly.
But is it nuanced? It's not
It
even
is.
that complicated. Like if you found out right that your best friend right beat the fucking shit out of his wife. I'm talking she's in the hospital, right?
No, yeah.
And you're like he has to have some kind of justification for this, right? And you ask him, and he responds with, "Well, she smacked me."
I would condemn.
Do you think
that's
nuanced?
behavior?
Like,
yes, I would think it's nuanced, but I would outright condemn the beating.
that's not fucking nuanced.
The same way that I would
dog shit on
condemn any sort of excessive force that Israel uses against Gazans.
No, it's not the fucking same. It's not the same.
I thought you were
It's
saying it was.
definitely,
I thought you were trying to say they were.
No. I'm saying it's the same kind of behavior, but it is not the same scale, right? Murdering a fuck ton of people is not the exact same as taking like a lot of hostages.
Beheading. Yeah, it is. Well,
no. The amount of death on one side, of death on one side is absolutely.
No, I agree. That's why I think your analogy is correct. That it's like a woman slapping her husband, and the bigger, stronger husband using excessive force on the woman.
The behavior is wrong, but one dwarfs the other by fucking millions. Like one dwarfs it by fucking tens.
Okay, fine. I condemn that, and I also condemn the other behavior,
right,
like for instance, hostage taking or whatever.
But let's not equalize it like it's the same.
But who says I'm equalizing? I'm just trying to acknowledge that they're both wrong.
It's more the language, right? It's more like being like they're both wrong. They're both in the wrong. It's like
they are.
Like if you get I know they're both wrong in a literal sense. I'm saying when you say things and you're like, oh, I condemn both of them. They're both kind of in the wrong. It's like these are not even remotely similar, right? The only similar things they both include violence. That's it. But like, let's say for instance, Hitler murdering all those Jews isn't the same as me beating up a kid when I was 16 because he called my mom fat. Right? They're both violent, but you wouldn't be like they're both wrong. Like,
well, I guess I wouldn't. I mean, technically, actually, I would, but I see your point that it's different orders of magnitude. It's different orders of magnitude. I understand that. Yeah. So I think Israel should use force to defend itself. I don't think it should use excessive force. I don't think it should kill children. I don't think Hamas should set up their base of operations at the bottom of a hospital, but that's why it's so complicated. I don't think it's simple at all. I think it's extremely complicated. That's why
but that shit,
I don't
that
typically
shit
talk
man,
about
that
it.
Was,
but...
that was that shit with the hospital was never verified. They don't.
Okay,
they're not even
whatever.
letting journalists in to fucking see. They're being so private and shitty about it. Like it's just weird. Like it's suspect. Like it's I don't like it. Like
yeah, Brandon says I think I need antibiotics and I can't afford a doctor's visit. Oh, I'm sorry, brother. No, we'll send you prayers, but maybe someone will donate to you. Okay, so I thought Free Palestine meant legalized dancing. Me too. Weird. I don't know. That's what I thought it meant. When you do tit for tat, that's equivocation.
The Irish are very pro-Palestine considering our history, because we basically went through the same shit.
Right, you see
especially the
yourselves
forced
as resisting
starvation.
like a larger empire.
Well, through the exact same method of murder as well. Like, other than the fucking tactical missiles, is the forced starvation. Like during the famine, we were forcibly starved. Like, people. Have you ever heard the joke, right, where it's just like, people think that the Irish are just fucking stupid, right? We went through the potato famine, and we were just like, we only eat potatoes. We have to keep eating the potatoes. We'd rather starve than eat a carrot, right? We have to eat the potatoes. Like, no, they took all the good food and left the blighted potato because they couldn't use it.
Right.
That's all we had.
Yeah.
And so, like, they were forcefully starving us. The same.
I think actually most people are stupider than you're giving them credit for. Most people believe that the potato famine is that Irish people only ever ate potatoes, and that the famine was that they ran out of potatoes. That's what most people genuinely believe, and at least in America, that is literally what we think. Like, so however stupid you think we are, we're even more. Yeah.
And then the cunts will turn around and be like, "I'm 2/4 Irish," and
yeah. That's why I'd never say that I'm Welsh, right? It's from like 500 years ago. Like, I would never claim, but I just say like my name is like this because of X, right? Because of Wales existing.
7 generations.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the Irish are very. It's the same way with the Native Americans. We were very empathetic towards their situation.
I get that. I think a lot of people are. Should be.
We're even thinking of changing our position in accordance with NATO's thing about changing our neutrality, because that's how much we're pissed about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Could you do that sans? Well, I guess you just do it. I don't even know how the government works over there. What is the deal? Is Ireland include Northern Ireland, or like what's the demarcation?
No,
like
so Britain, the United Kingdom includes Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England.
Right. And
the Republic of Ireland is Southern Ireland.
Is Southern Ireland, and you live in Northern Ireland as a part of the UK.
No, I don't live in mid. No, I do not.
I thought you said that. Am I wrong? I thought you said that.
No,
Okay.
I live in South Ireland. I am part of the Republic of Ireland.
Forgive me. You live 15 miles away from the place I thought you lived.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. So you're in Southern Ireland. You're an actual Irish person, citizen, whatever. You're not part of the UK.
Patriot.
Right? Patriot. I love it. I love it.
See, like, that's the thing. I think here you could actually say you were a Republican and people wouldn't hate you.
Yeah, wait, sorry, what?
Here you could say you were a Republican and people wouldn't hate you.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, for real. In LA, they would. In most places. Wait, I just thought of this. Hold on. You're a potatriot.
I'm going to use that and stealing that.
Take it. That's all yours, bro. Potatriot.
But yeah, the thing that I love about the world, right, in regards to how they view Ireland, right, is if Ireland thinks you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah. Like, that's been my experience with talking to Irish people so far. Yeah.
Well, I mean, not Irish people, but if Ireland as a whole is just like you're a cunt, then you're probably a cunt.
Oh, then you're a cunt. Yeah. Well, it's probably one of the few countries where people are unified on their positions in a relatively major way. Scandinavia too, though.
It's more about the disappointment in Ireland's face. Like, that's what it feels like. It's just like whenever Ireland looks at you, and we just go, awful. we're just like awful.
Yeah. Comic Brandon says, I protect and love potatoes and all vegetable varieties. If I didn't love potatoes, I wouldn't support Reese. Well, it's a good thing you don't support me. You have not been here for like months. It's never supported me. But anyway, he goes, Reese is what happens when potatoes get hit with the Ninja Turtles ooze. And I'll take that as a compliment, because Ninja Turtles are badass, and everything that ooze touches becomes badass, dude. So if I'm good at karate now, thank you.
I thought you were doing a salute, and you said that was karate.
Oh yeah, this is karate, not a salute. I'm not trying to do any. Let me be more clear. Yeah, Yeah, Brandon, lol, patriot. What do you call an Irish nationalist? A patriot. All right, that's a good note to end it on. Good stuff, boys. Good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Very fun. We'll be back. We will be back. God bless, and